What's going on, everyone? Welcome to a season gaming special. Travis, you're throwing me off already, man. We are here with some Halo content creators who are getting all suited up and ready to go. A great panel of people you know, obviously, if you pay attention to this channel. We're going to be talking nothing but Halo Infinite tonight. So for anyone joining us live, we greatly appreciate you coming out. And anyone listening to this later, definitely give us some feedback, but definitely appreciate it. But let me go around here. This is going to be a roundtable discussion. So even though I'm kind of setting this up, I'm not going to be hosting. It's just a conversation about all things Halo Infinite, including campaign and multiplayer. And let me go around the room and introduce our panel. So you guys already know me. To my right on the screen, you have Mr. Tie Guy Travis, editor for IGN. He's mistakenly chosen Mass Effect 2, you know, in our prior conversation, but you know, we still enjoy his company regardless. Travis, what's happening, my friend?
It's going well, man. Nice to be here. Excited to talk about Halo.
Yeah, man. It looks like you've killed like multiple Master Chiefs behind you.
Yeah, there's a graveyard, a veritable graveyard behind me.
To his right, you know him as Mr. Bad Take. We know him as the host of the Trophy Room, a PlayStation show. I don't know what he's doing here, but we invited him anyway. Joe, what's happening, my friend?
I thought this was the Resistance Roundtable. What are we doing here? Such memorable characters, such as.
Oh boy!
Go ahead.
I'm happy to be here.
Characters for me.
Yeah, no. So I can't change my name anymore. I think Ains did that. It's stuck
really?
Permanently to Mr. Batek. And
it.
how dare you, Ains? But I'm happy to be here nonetheless.
There you go. I'll fix it. Maybe. I don't know. Below him, his partner in crime, best friend, colleague, if you will, Mr. Luke Lore, host of the Xbox Expansion Pass, and he calls himself the Insipid Ghost. What's happening, dude?
I feel like Joe's gonna jump in real quick. He looks flabbergasted. What's wrong, Joe?
Yeah, why would you? None of that's true.
I'm just putting it out there, man.
This man.
Just putting it out there.
Okay.
What's up, Ains? It is good to be here. Thank you so much for having me on the Halo podcast roundtable. You know I love me some Halo, and I'm always a real fan, not a fake fan like Mr. Badbit.
Damn.
Pleasure to get to work with Mo again, and then to meet in person Pat and Travis is a joy. So thanks, you guys, for that. Hello, everyone. Hello.
To his left, Mr. Mo Kwama, host of the Backlog Chronicles and a regular around these parts. What's happening, brother?
What's going on, man? Thank you for bringing me here. It's gonna be awesome. Nice to meet Pat and Travis and Mr. Badbit. How you doing, sir? Luke, first time I'm with you on a show since you came on my last year, sometime last year. Been a while, man.
Wow.
Too long. But I noticed you have one of those chairs that Ains has, those yellow ones. They're giving those out, right?
He helped me. He helped me figure out how to shill from CDPR for it. So
there you go. Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, definitely. Yellow chair mafia, baby.
Yeah. I was gonna say you don't want to go against the YCM. You better watch your mouth.
We gotta tell Travis that story if he doesn't know it already. At some point.
You think The Sopranos is bad? You don't know about the YCM.
Oh,
you got Halo on that screen behind you, Mo, or did you fail us?
No, I actually don't, man. Look, I don't keep anything static on this OLED because I'm scared shitless of anything, you know, like just burning. You know, I've read so much about burning. I do have that gallery though. I had no idea. I had no idea that it even exists. I've had this TV since the new consoles launched. But yeah, thanks for that heads up.
All good, man. And last but not least, my friend, Mr. Patman Gaming, Halo content creator. You know him on Twitch. You know him from our tournament win. You know how it goes around these parts. Pat, how you doing, brother?
I'm good. It's nice to meet everybody. Going against the Yellow Chair Mafia, we're going Batman.
There you
chair,
go.
You know,
okay.
all right.
Okay.
So it's nice to obviously meet everybody. I've seen Travis on Fire Team Chat, so that's pretty cool to be in there. He's rocking like some banished colors there, so I like the theme. That's pretty cool. I see what you did there. But yeah, definitely excited to talk some Halo because that's kind of what I do. You know, talk Halo.
Yeah, a little bit anyway.
I like you already.
All right, guys. So let's go ahead and get into it for the chat and anyone listening. Like I said, this could be a roundtable discussion. We're going to start off with campaign, and I figured where we would kind of kick it off here is understanding one, what's been shown to date, right, by 343, what we know about the world and the story, but also really your guys' kind of wants in terms of for lack of a better word, correcting the story that was left in Halo 5, right? Now, it should go without saying that anyone who's listening to this would probably have finished Halo 5 and knows how that game ended and the final kind of scene, which I think, was an interesting setup. But then we transitioned to Halo Wars 2, and now to Halo Infinite, which is a little bit later. So, guys, I guess the first thing is, with what's been shown in terms of, you can touch on either here, right? Let's touch on story points first before we talk about the open world design. So story points, the end of Halo 5, we get obviously Chief and Arbiter and Halsey and this whole crew kind of reunite and just take off, right? To try and get to Cortana, who is this newfangled version. Yes, Rogue AI is a perfect way to say it. But the journey to that point, right? What happened with Locke? What happened with Team Osiris? The feeling like it wasn't truly Chief's story in Halo 5, which they're obviously very poignantly focusing on for Infinite, right? They're trying to bring it back as Chief as the focal point. So I guess the question, or I comment wherever you guys want to start, is, as you think about the end of Halo 5, you think about where Halo Wars 2 went, and Luke or anyone else on Halo Wars 2, feel free to add context here. Travis, okay?
My man, Travis. All right.
Yeah, because we have the Banished that have come into the, into the kind of core story now, and there's context there that I think people need. But what do you want to see here? Like, what do you envision the core story element of Halo Infinite being after what we've seen in those two games?
I'll go first on this one. What I want to see is focus and a clear direction from start to finish. One of the problems with Halo 5 is it was trying to solve a couple problems with creating a new hero for a new generation, but then it had mixed marketing. It sold the wrong promises. Fireteam Osiris in premise is really cool. They've got Buck on there. Locke was meant to be a really cool character straight out of Oni. So he was this like spy turned Spartan, which was going to be really cool. There was a lot of potential for Fireteam Osiris, and it wasn't executed on well. And the soul of Halo was missing throughout Halo 5 Guardians. The ending actually really worried me a lot with Cortana going rogue and the scope at which the Guardians going around the universe would be. That really concerned me. But I've been really pleased with the expanded universe, the books, and Halo Wars 2 at doing a good job at kind of making it more manageable and understandable, setting up the humanity as, if anyone's unfamiliar, it set them up as being on the run with Infinity. It's put them in the underdog position, which they kind of weren't at the end of 5. And to the marketing credit for a lot of the expanded universe stuff, a lot of the books, it has said such and such title, a Master Chief story. They are really doubling down on it being on Infinite being a Master Chief story, the expanded universe having Master Chief front and center. So I feel like if I'm wanting direction and focus with their Infinite primary story, I'm gonna get it. But I will say, I don't want Osiris to be abandoned. I want references here and there, and then down the line or in an expanded element of DLC, whatever you want to have it, I want Osiris to get round 2, another shot.
Yeah, I actually would like to bounce off of that because, like you said, Ains, most of the fan base, I'd say a good chunk of the fan base was kind of disappointed with Halo 5's story. So me personally, it's one of the weaker ones in the series. The campaign gameplay was actually pretty good, I thought, but just the story was left a little bit lacking. So, and which is really disappointing because Halo 4 is one of my favorite stories in the universe.
Mine
because
too.
The personification of Chief.
Look, everyone's nodding. We got a whole panel.
Hell yeah, man.
You know, we got
yeah.
such a great character with Chief, like that we didn't get before in Halo 4, and it was kind of just completely abandoned in 5, and that's what I think disappointed me the most about Halo 5. And we already know this is a Chief story. 343 said Chief is the only character for now, though. We know Halo Infinite is a 10-year plan or whatever you want to call it, a hub of sorts, a platform for games for the next however many years of Halo. So we could get story DLC of different characters, which kind of, opens the door up for what Insipid was talking about. with, you know, maybe seeing Osiris or Arbiter DLC, whatever it could be later down the line. I don't want to see those characters abandoned, but I think it is really, really good to focus on primarily Chief for this story. And they've said it's a spiritual reboot, a soft reboot, you know, for the series. So I think it's very important to focus on Chief again and try to get back to kind of where we left off with Halo 4, with seeing him as a character. And everything we've seen so far, I think, has been really good, honestly, from the trailers that we've seen, especially the one at the last E3, man. I get chills watching it.
Honestly, I feel like, you know, as probably the more novice of the group here in terms of the story elements, is I play the games, I love them, and that's how I get my story. I don't go and, you know, read the ebooks or whatever have you. 4 gave Chief a soul, right? To me, it humanized him in a way and told a story that I don't think many Microsoft first-party exclusives have to me. It really struck a chord. To me, I fell in love with this series with Combat Evolved as a kid because I really felt like I was Chief. This chubby little Hispanic boy could face adversity head on and not even blink an eye. So for me, it gave a layer of Chief that had this connection to Cortana that was just, a bond that was about to break. And we've always been there when we have a friend or someone that, we part ways with one way or the other. And it's always something that doesn't happen. Let's just say someone moving to college or whatever. It's kind of that farewell. And it was heartbreaking, absolutely heartbreaking. And so to see the trailers for me going into Infinite, it really feels like it's more of a sequel to 4 than 5 to me. At least it's giving me that type of feel, because 5 was soulless. Story was soulless. Chief was barely there. I wanted more of that arc explained, and we
noticed that lack of soul is in the storytelling. Something as simple but imperative as the music in the campaign of 5 wasn't there and didn't match. And I often make the joke that it's like The Last Jedi. It on its own, the mechanics, it's all fine, but it doesn't match the saga and the writing that you would expect.
And Blue Team, we didn't get any, like, that was the first time they've ever appeared in a game. Like, people from the extended lore like us that have read the books and stuff are like, Blue Team. No character development whatsoever. Was super disappointed in that. Sorry, Haynes, go ahead.
No, you're fine. I'm going to get the super chat real quick, and I know Travis is waiting to say something about Halo 5. So, Graham, thanks, brother. $5 super chat. Let's go, boys. Great panel, including Mr. Bad Take. Never played Halo in his life. Damn, Joe, getting called out by super chats now. Super excited to hear more awesome.
Well, if you won me, bro,
on takes, but all from Joe. Thanks, Graham. Appreciate it, man. So, Travis, I saw you kind of nodding your head and sticking your finger out. What do you got for us?
Yeah, so lots of interesting opinions. I will say I appreciate that the opinions here are mostly mild, but I actually think I will be bold and say that there's really nothing wrong with anything that Halo 5 does story-wise in terms of the decisions it makes. It's more in the way that it presents it and how you don't see most of the story through the lens of the Master Chief. Like, I don't have a problem with the Cortana plot and where they went with that. Playing off of the Forerunners tech and the stuff that they set up in 4. I think 5 does a ton of things right that it doesn't get credit for. And I think it's because, one, people have opinions about the extreme decision. And I personally am like, hell yeah, 343. Like, you have the balls to take this beloved franchise and do something that crazy. Like, I think that they could have played it safe and they didn't. And I think that that's awesome. And I was really worried when we saw the first Infinite gameplay of the campaign that they were just going to completely abandon that, because all we saw was the kind of a sequel to Halo Wars 2, right, where it was about the brutes and their sort of storyline. But it looks like we are getting a proper sequel to Halo 5, which I am super excited about, because I think Halo 5 had a ton of potential. It was more the way they told it. You only played 3 missions as Master Chief. Was Master Chief soulless in those missions? Absolutely not. I totally disagree with that. He's Steve Downs' performance is so good in Halo 5. Even when you're not seeing cutscenes and he's just talking, you're doing stuff, you can hear like his voice crack at one point when he's talking about Cortana. He does a really good job at conveying that emotion that I think is really underrated in the franchise. But I'm excited to see where they go. I do have a worry about Halo Infinite that the story will be a little bit disjointed because of what we saw in the first trailer and what we saw in the second. They seem like two very different plots. And so, is he fighting this brute commando on his way to figure out what's going on with Cortana, or is it sort of open world and the brute is like a side quest? I really don't know what this game looks like, or if it's different kind of expansions we're looking at, but I would really like it to be a proper sequel to 5, where we see a more focused story on what everybody's saying, a focus on Master Chief, which I think was kind of the original sin of Halo 5. And I will say, when Halo 2 came out, people forget this, but there was a lot of backlash for the Halo 2 campaign. And it was because they introduced the Arbiter and you played as not Master Chief, and people were pissed. So I predict in a few years, especially once you see the grand arc and we know how Infinite ends and all that people will look at 5 and see it as kind of a better middle piece. Also, The Last Jedi is a great movie. So
I agree with you, but it doesn't fit. Now, I'm curious. Have you read the books? Shadow, like where they mention Isharium and stuff. Shadows of Reach. Yeah. I think the expanded universe does a good job for those that are interested.
Joey was saying the same thing here, Luke.
Did he? I'm sorry.
Their biggest folly is not properly linking the two, right? Like, for instance, the Didact is amazing. Agree. Didact is an incredible character, and the games had no idea who he was going into 4, as an example.
4 does that whole terminals thing you can find, which that was how I introduced it. And then I went back and read the books and was like, oh, there's like a lot here. So
but go ahead. The bigger point I was to make is the expanded universe is setting things up to where it makes sense kind of why we saw 2 very different trailers for the 2 years. So that's, to me, that's very encouraging. The problem is how many people are reading those books compared to those who are going to play them, and that's going to be their challenge. And
also even in this panel of like Halo fans, we have a bunch of people who haven't played Halo Wars 2, and that seems like it's like essential reading for this game. So I'm interested to see how that.
No joke. I played Halo Wars 2. I didn't finish it, and
just go watch the cutscenes.
A couple weeks ago, that's what I was going to say. I just did. Yeah.
My God. I think I'm going to do that too.
Yeah. By the way, Travis, Game Positive says one of the best takes on Halo 5 I've heard in my life. Love it.
Awesome. Love that.
Jump in there, Mo.
To piggyback off of what you guys were saying, I don't want to repeat, everything about, the story being about Master Chief. I think we're all on the same page with that. And really what Travis was saying does make more sense in terms of the way that 5 was presented. I like how they built on Cortana's rampancy. And how they just made her. What's really cool too is, in spite of everything that you guys were saying about what we expect with the story, I really want to see, and I'm kind of annoyed that they showed us this new AI. And the reason why, and the reason why is because I obviously, Travis, you were talking about it being disjointed, right? Like, I mean, she's saying like, oh, Cortana was wiped out. We're like, well, wait a second, how's she wiped out? End of 5. So clearly there are a lot of things that they're not showing us, and I think the way the disjointed nature that they're showing us these trailers is intentional, so we don't catch anything. But the thing is it's really cool that they brought this weapon to be the new AI that accompanies Chief, because this kind of mirrors the whole thing with, it seems like they're going with the whole mendicant bias and offensive bias story and Cortana and the weapon story, right? The way Cortana and mendicant bias were created, why they were created, how they were created, and what purpose they were supposed to serve, how they both spent time with what's the name of that big Jesus, man, for the flood, the Gravemind. They both spent time with the Gravemind, and then they both ended up going rampant. They both ended up going through rampancy, and obviously mendicant bias assisted the flood, but Cortana didn't do that yet. But still, she turned on the original purpose for which she was made for. And then it seems like the weapon itself is supposed to kind of represent the same purpose that offensive bias was made, and we don't know anything about it. We don't even know if that's her real name. right? Because the thing is too is just the way that the weapon was shown too. I mean, usually like these smart AIs, they have their own personalities. They challenge. They challenge anything that's said. At least they give their own opinions, and you kind of felt like she was like a fresh AI. She was more of a, I don't want to say dumb, but dumbed down. So
she was young.
Definitely, and that's the thing. And maybe they just didn't want to create, because apparently Cortana was the smartest AI that was ever made by the UNSC, and maybe they just didn't want to go through that again. Maybe they didn't want to do that again, just to avoid a situation like that where they created her. We still don't know.
Yeah.
But to go off of Chief, it's not that he was. You were right about the fact that we didn't get to see things through his eyes, but at the same time, I didn't feel like he was very stoic in 5. I felt like he was very
emotional?
No, actually, that's what I loved about 4, right? Because they humanized him, like you guys were saying. Oh yeah, absolutely. But I felt like he was what the hell's the word I'm looking for, man? I'm like completely blanking out right now.
I think he felt quiet though because of the track record that 4 put on. I'm sorry, but I hate that feeling.
Yeah,
no, man. Like
we only had 3 missions to actually see him do stuff, and I think maybe the first mission they don't really use it very well because it's still so early in the campaign. I think it's like the second mission, but the middle mission, he's like figuring out stuff, and then the final mission you play as the Master Chief, I think, is some of the most emotional we've seen Master Chief be in any of the games. It's just the time you see it and the lens you're doing it, and you have the same boss battle 3 times in a row, and just all the things around the way it's presented make the story seem a lot worse than it is, I think. But
no, I could agree with that.
That's where I agree as well. Like 5 feels soulless to me because 4 gave Chief a soul. He gave him something to really care for, or something to lose. And 5, I think Travis, you hit it on the head of, it's just how it's presented. Like we really want to see Chief go through this journey of loss, and we don't. I don't mind the decision that's made at the end. I don't care if a developer or a storyteller literally takes a golf club to a character you love to make a point or do something drastic. As long as it's presented well and the reasons are just, and it just felt leading up to that moment, just like any other moment, you don't want it to happen, but it didn't feel like it necessarily needed to, if that makes sense.
There's no impact for anything,
Yeah, that's a better way of putting it.
And that's what I feel like. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and that's what I want to feel as well going into Infinite. Yeah. This game has a lot of things to prove story-wise to fans, hardcore and newbie alike. And from what I've seen, I think the trailers that are presenting this tone, I'm really digging. Yeah. So
I think we see someone on Blue Team die during Infinite.
That's what I need. I need something like that. I need emotional impact in Halo again, man. Like, I know, Travis, absolutely agree. When Halo 2 came out, people were pissed about the Arbiter. He's personally my favorite character in Halo because before they personified Chief in 4, he was the most human character in all the Halo games. Like, you felt for the Arbiter's story. He went through being betrayed. He went through putting his life on the line for, think of it as like being a soldier, putting your life on your line for your country, your people. And he was betrayed by his government, and you really felt for him. And I always loved that about the Arbiter. And, with like we were all talking about with 4 and 5, we just didn't get enough of that from Chief and 5 coming from 4. And, I don't mind Locke. I don't mind the decision to have Locke in 5. That wasn't the problem. It just, they didn't split it up, like you said, evenly enough. We didn't get enough of Chief. And I wouldn't mind seeing Locke coming back, dude. Honestly, he just needs to be written better. I didn't care for anything about Locke in Halo 5 or in Halo Nightfall, if you guys have watched that.
Oh, Nightfall's not the best. Yeah.
Locke was too much of a square, man.
Yeah, exactly. He was
too much of a square.
A yes man, or there was no personality there, which can be fixed with good writing, which I have faith 343 can do. They've written good characters. And the same thing with Blue Team, like seeing Chief's, I think that was another thing that Halo 5 lacked. Blue Team is Chief's family, basically. He grew up with with Blue Team. You know, he's supposed to have a personal relationship, and you really didn't get much of that dynamic at all with Kelly, Linda, and Fred. You didn't get that dynamic of, you know, that you got in Halo: The Fall of Reach, if people have read that or even watched the animated adaptation.
I was just gonna say, yeah.
You know, so that was a disappointing aspect to me as well of 5. And I mean, I agree with everything you said, Travis. There's not one Halo game I hate. I don't hate any of the stories. Just some are better than others, and 5 is on the lower tier for me just because of how it was executed. But I mean, if you like Halo 5, there's nothing wrong with that. Like that's somebody's opinion, that you can't be wrong about that. But you know, that there's just gripes I have with you know, the pacing and certain aspects of all that.
I have gripes too. I mean,
Yeah.
I think the no explanation for Blue Team and introducing those characters to the audience that hasn't done the EU is an oversight.
Right.
And I think you know, Locke being able to go toe to toe with the Master Chief in hand to hand combat is ridiculous. Like there's stuff like that, but they're mostly nitpicks, right? They're the way that they told the story rather than what the story actually did. I think, you know, if they can take the story and continue to run with it and give us a great finale, I think in retrospect, people will appreciate 5 in the same way that they appreciated 2 after 3. Like, I think they have that opportunity. Definitely. But, you know, and maybe this is where we transition to talking about what the campaign has to do gameplay wise, because I think that's a separate discussion.
I do want to say one thing though. When I was talking about Chief being the way that they're portraying him right now so far in Infinite, you know, just kind of rebooting him in a sense, or kind of making him more stoic or just feel more heroic. When I said, so the word I was looking for earlier was vulnerable. And he wasn't vulnerable because he was being chased. That's initially what we were led to believe, right? I mean, with the whole marketing campaign, them being after him, blah, blah, blah. I just felt like he wasn't himself just because he was on this mission to find Cortana, and he was willing to put his friends in danger, and it didn't feel like his eye was just selfishly on the prize, but without really worrying about, I don't know, at least that was my interpretation of it. I didn't feel like he was just his heroic stoic self. And now with these new trailers, at least that they're showing us, or the way that he's talking and the way that he's short, you know, when he tells her like the mission changes, it always does, you know, or when he's floating through space and then he says, he's like, I already told you, it's enough. You know, like, I mean, there's that confidence in him again that I just felt like wasn't there. Maybe because of the writing, like you guys were saying, it's definitely because of the writing, because that goes back to how the story was presented.
Yeah,
and I think they're really focusing on that, which is to back up everything you guys said. It's all about him. It's all about him.
What do you think about the Rapscallion's comment here? I felt there was no impact on both Halo 5 and Halo Wars 2 because the story seemed to get started as the credits rolled.
Yeah.
So
Raps is a good friend of mine. He, I absolutely agree with. I mean, we talk all the time. That's one of my primary Halo buddies. But
nice.
Thanks for stopping by. First of all, Raps, thanks for the support. But yeah, I agree with that. We've had this discussion several times. It really does seem to pick up towards the end, especially Halo 5. Much like Travis said, you start to get that emotional impact, especially with Chief. You could hear it in the lines when he's interacting with Cortana, like he's pained that he has to go against his friend, you know, like, and that she's turned, and he's very disappointed. I get that sense, and same thing with Halo Wars 2. I enjoyed Halo Wars 2 story more than Halo 5's as an entirety. I would say, just the Spirit of Fire crew and all that coming back, I thought was really cool. The Banished were we actually
what an
had
introduction, man.
Yeah. And a badass villain once again. So that was something that was kind of missing from Halo 5 a little bit, as a big baddie. 4 had Didact, 5 had Warden Eternal several hundred times. You know, I know I'm over exaggerating, but
you're not exaggerating. That's
a base librarian.
Yeah. So I there wasn't a front and center baddie, I should say. Obviously there's a lot of aspects in Halo 5, but we got and the blur cutscenes are just absolutely magnificent.
Amazing.
So
you're saying just watching the cutscenes enough for Halo Wars 2 is enough
for the base. I mean, there's still a lot of good extended lore out there, but I would highly, if you haven't played Halo Wars 2 at all, I highly recommend just at the very least watching the cutscenes and getting 100%. Your feet wet with the Banished that way, because Atriox is a badass enemy. I have hopes personally in Infinite in a future DLC to see Atriox and Arbor, like Swords of St. Helios, versus Arbiter, versus the Banished and Atriox go at it, and just Arbiter taking out all his taking out his anger on the brutes. Like I fantasize.
You get excited.
Let me calm down.
There was a. Go ahead.
Sorry, man. I was, because I know you know this, Luke. It's kind of for you. Is Ben? What's up, Ben? He said, if I want to get more into the story, which books and other adaptations are a must? So I figured you guys could give him a few shout outs or recommendations.
Yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you have to start with the Forerunner trilogy, I think.
Absolutely. I don't like that one at all. I don't like the
really.
It's good for backstory on the Forerunners, though.
You have to read it though. But I love those trilogy books. Those are like Dune level. Like
you're talking like the Greg Bear books, right?
Yeah, the one
like the Greg Bear ones. It's interesting you say that, because I think that's a very high level Halo fan. For a casual fan, if it's Kelly Gay or Troy Denning, their work, I would say, and I can like literally
Point of Light is a good one to start on. I think
that is a good one. Shadows of Reach is a recent one that you don't need the other books to go with. There's a really cool Spec Ops team called Ferret Team. That is somebody I want to see show up in Halo a game sometime. That's a really deep rabbit hole.
Okay, so I was thinking more. So the question was, if you want to get more into the story. So I was thinking like, what are the building blocks that help you understand the Halo universe more, rather than which ones are fun? Because those tend to not overlap. There's the fun ones that are just kind of like popcorn books, and then there's the ones that help you understand the world. And I think the ones that help you understand the world tend to be less fun, but like if you want to know about the world, like you just have to read those.
They're
Joey, who we were saying, big shout out to Joey for coming out. Sorry you couldn't join us tonight, brother. But yeah, he's really into the kind of whole canon and the overall arching story of Halo, and he said Fall of Reach and Forerunner Saga are key.
Forerunner Saga, absolutely.
I've done lower breakdown videos on YouTube of the Forerunner Saga, like Zeta Halo history. It's because those Forerunner Saga goes deep into like Mendicant Bias, the Primordial, everything that you need to know about Zeta Halo, which is obviously the setting for Halo Infinite. So
do you think we'll leave the ring, or is the ring the whole setting for this?
When Chris Lee was studio head of Halo Infinite back before he left or got demoted, whatever. He said they were asked, is there going to be other locations than Zeta Halo? And he said, we're not ready to talk about that yet. To me, that's yes. He could have just easily just said, no, Zeta Halo only. There's already been a tease of Reach, returning to Reach, the Avery Johnson Military Science Academy, where the training takes place that we saw in the recent
multiplayer.
Yes, it looks to be on Reach from the latest Inside Infinite update. If you guys read about it, it's towards the end when they show the concept art. Joe Staten's talking about Reach, and he's saying that's where the new Spartans are getting trained, and that's basically a dead giveaway to me. So we could see a return to Reach. And a fun fact for those who know the extended lore, Zeta Halo is one of the only, maybe the only Halo ring that has an anchor planet right next to the planet that anchors the Halo ring because of gravity and all that crazy stuff, space stuff, nerdy stuff. It is the only one that's inhabitable, because usually it's a gas giant planet, which obviously you can't step foot on. With Zeta Halo, you can step foot on it. So maybe we could even go to the nearby planet, which would be really, really cool. So I think we do see other locations, if not in the base story once again.
The extended platform of what Infinite will be, right?
Yeah, I kind of hope that the base campaign is just on the Halo ring, just for the Halo Combat Evolved vibes that would give me. You're on a ring, you're exploring it, semi-open world. I kind of just want to soak in that for a while, and then they can do other stuff and expansions, and I'll play them all. But
for anybody that's not wanting the higher level stuff and you're just like casually interested, the director of Halo Infinite, Joseph Staten, has written a Halo book. I think it was Contact Harvest, and then there in 2015 on through to Travis's point are a lot of really good, I would argue, popcorn books that I think are great, like Hunters in the Dark, Last Light, Smoke and Shadow has a good following, and
so good.
I mean, there's a lot. There are a lot of them,
and two more on the way.
Yeah. I mean,
also,
one of the things that.
Go ahead, Joe. Go ahead, Luke. I'm sorry.
One of the things that they do a good job of in the expanded universe, which is not tied to the gameplay, that we now have the opportunity for with Infinite, and what they kind of tried in Spartan Ops is stories that do not involve the main story or Master Chief, and like separate things. So the idea is we get our main campaign with Halo Infinite, and then a small 2-hour Gears Hivebusters style story with Locke or Fire Team Osiris, or I would love Ferret Team, but like the idea of some of these other stories to be told, because there's no way we're staying just on Zeta Halo, and they're building Infinite for this long-term run, and there's a lot of stories that you could tell and that people would enjoy and pay money for.
Yeah, there's a reason the investment was made into the new engine, calling Halo Infinite a platform for Halo for the future. And they've spoken, in kind of cryptic details around getting into some of the expanded lore like we've been discussing for a while now. So super excited about that. Let me circle back. I don't want to go all the way back to all your guys' comments on Halo 5 because I think we covered it, but I just want to call out Sark comment here. We were talking about Blue Team, right? And how Mo, you mentioned that Chief didn't feel vulnerable.
He felt vulnerable.
Excuse me. And basically what Sark was saying, looking at it from an operative perspective, right, is he considers Cortana a member of the team, right? Spent the most time with their Blue Team, would back the play to recover her with no issue. They might object, but it wouldn't remove them from the op. His point being that if Chief says this is what they're doing,
that's
what they're going to do.
Yeah.
Because they trust him to that extent, right?
Yes. Yeah.
I thought that was a good point I wanted to call out. So just
I wonder if they still trust him after what happened.
Well, I guess we're going to find out.
Could be a very interesting dynamic.
I do want to add, Joey. I know Joey's watching. His breakdown of the lore is incredible. He puts everything, comics and movies and books and everything. So if anybody wants to read that, it's a long read, but it's fascinating. So
you'll have to link it to me in a DM because I would love to read it.
Yeah, Joey, link it here, man.
Joe, you can feel free to link in the chat. I don't mind, and I will also link it after we're done in the for anyone listening in the the description. So I'll make sure it's there.
Cool.
So guys, that's kind of core content story overview, right? Do you want to move to mechanics of Halo Infinite and what we're going to see single player wise? We'll get to multiplayer, of course, because I'm like jittery with excitement over multiplayer, like a little kid. But thinking about the open world, going back to the gameplay reveal last year, we'll keep all the comments aside of the graphics, the lighting, and that kind of impacted the nonsense, right? But thinking about what the platform, the new engine, right, and what they've shown of the open world, the comments they've had, again, going back to Pat's comment, if you read these monthly Infinite updates, right, they have said more details than you may have caught around the gameplay that's going to be present here. And even Joseph Staten himself has made little Twitter posts about it, comments. But it sounds like, what they're really trying to do here is allow the player this kind of player agency, if you will, to follow along in this core story as you would, right? But to create this moment-to-moment kind of gameplay moments that just kind of, they're unscripted would probably be the best way, right? It's like you could be heading this way to the next story beat, and here is a banished outpost, and you just kind of decide whether or not you want to do that, but it could have ties to the story as well. So it goes without saying, we've seen a ton of open world games. We've seen a ton of open world games fail on keeping the core story meaningful and on point while having the side content, right?
Yeah.
So two kind of open topics for you guys is, one, do you like what you've seen so far out of the open world for Halo Infinite and how you're going to approach it? And two, how do you think they're really going to be successful in doing all the things we just touched on, right? In terms of story, characters, writing, building out that, continuing with that lore, but also make it an interesting open world where you want to go explore, you want to do these other things. The activities are fun, but meaningful. That's a challenge for any developer. So I'm really curious your thoughts on those things. Go for it, Pat.
All right, let me go because I've been talking about this for a while. So this is always fresh on my head. So for the longest, I've been comparing Infinite to Breath of the Wild meets like Metro Exodus. So if anybody's played either one of those games, Breath of the Wild gives you the freedom to kind of go into whatever encounter and tackle it any which way you want. You could tackle it hundreds of different ways because the game gives you the tools to do it right off the bat, basically after the opening tutorial. And I'm definitely getting that vibe from Infinite because everything they've explained, you could tackle it stealthily. You can go in guns a-blazing. You can go in, and they even said like, you know, the music would change based on, you know, how you're going in with, you know, awesome. If you're going in stealthily, then it's going to be, you know, a little bit, and then the battle music will start if you're going in, you know, aggressive and stuff. So I fully expect Infinite to kind of to piggyback off of that. I don't think it's going to be truly an open world game though, which 343 have kind of hinted at as well, because I agree with what Ain said. It's a huge challenge. We rarely see open world games that also tell a really good story, you know, at the same time. It's hard to do it, but with Infinite, Zeta Halo is a character in itself. So that's a whole story. Like exploring that ring is going to be a character in and of itself. And at the same time, Exodus kind of split it into these little chunks for you to experience. So like you can still experience. Yeah. It's like open. Like you could, exactly. You could go in, you know, it's not like, okay, you could go all the way wherever you want from here on out. You're still kind of led, you know, to certain areas. And then it seems that's the way Infinite's going to be. So you could run around free roaming, saving Marines, going to look for data pads or whatever. There's definitely going to be some sort of collectibles. We've seen teases towards that several times. So to you know, understand the extended lore, but at the same time, you should be able to tackle your main missions, and then maybe that triggers your cutscene after you do your main mission, and that's how you get your main, you know, story fed to you. So I think it's definitely possible, and everything I've seen so far, I am not in the slightest worried about how we're going to get this story presented to us, and while also having the most open and robust Halo game, kind of like what Travis said, those CE vibes, you know, getting dropped onto the Halo ring and just looking around like, oh my God, I get to just go from here. You know, definitely get that vibe from Infinite.
Yeah, I hope that you're right, and that I think I actually didn't even think about the Exodus model, but that would be perfect. I could totally see the first act being, you know, you're getting your bearings and you're fighting the brutes and dealing with kind of the fallout from Halo War 2, and then, you know, you move to a second area, and you know how in Exodus each area is like a self-contained story, but it's all kind of related. I could totally see that. I think part of the reason that the original reveal of Halo landed flat for a lot of people of Halo Infinite gameplay is because, for example, when we saw the multiplayer stuff at this most recent E3, everyone immediately knew what was happening with the multiplayer. Everyone was like, that's big team battle. That's a map I recognize. That's a take on a mechanic where now I can use a grapple hook and jack seat. But when you watch the Halo Infinite campaign, it's really, you can watch that whole thing and still have no idea what the campaign is going to play like. And so I think the in the back of everyone's mind is like, what is this game? Like, what is it going to feel like? What am I doing? What is kind of the flow? And because it's so different from what players have experienced in a very linear story, I think that made it just created way more questions than answers, which is not really what you want when you're revealing gameplay. You want questions in the trailers, but not in the gameplay reveal. In the gameplay reveal, it needs to be like crystal clear what playing it is going to feel like. And I watched that and was like, wow, this looks really cool. I was not scared about the graphics or anything. Of course, they're going to figure that out. They had, you know, they always figure that out in the end. But my main thing was like, wow, I have no idea what playing this game is going to be like. And I think that's a problem when you do a gameplay reveal. So I'm really excited. Obviously, I think that if they can capture the magic of crash landing on that Halo ring the first time in Combat Evolved and walking on that ring and getting to a Warthog and all that and on a bigger scale, I mean, they're golden. Like if they can capture that, I 100% get why they're saying a spiritual reboot, right? Like that, they're kind of going back to the roots and you know, keep it simple, stupid. Like just do the thing that we know that is gonna kill
That's
it.
That's a tough task, man. The magic that we all experience with Halo CE on the second mission, right after you leave the ship and you land on that literally, if you recall, that was the kiosk for the original Xbox, the very first kiosk. It was that mission. Yep. And I've told this story before. I'll keep it very quick, but I was literally paying off my GameCube in 6 games pre-order. Walking out, said I'm never going to buy an Xbox. I didn't want anything to do with it. I picked up the controller, played Halo, ended up playing for like half an hour, went back that night and bought an Xbox with Halo. And it's become my favorite franchise ever. So my point being is that saying that they can try to recreate that magic is a very tall task, because that was something we had never seen before at that point in a first-person console shooter.
Travis is right, though. They do need to recreate that. The problem is
they need to. I'm just saying it's a tall task to do so.
Yeah.
Sure. And they've had 20 years of design improvements to other games that are now going to factor in expectations for what Infinite brings to the table. But I think you can glean a few at least comfortable clarifying points in that likely you're not going to be supported by the Infinity or the UNSC or ONI or anything. You're likely going to be there with your Pelican pilot, who I think is still unnamed.
They did say he's a key part of the story, though.
I think he's going to be flying you around Zeta Halo when you're on Zeta Halo. You're going to be kind of solo, not really having a team base, and that's just going to be the thing for a bit. And that echoes of Halo 4, or at least chunks of Halo 4, I should say. And that's exactly what I think a lot of people want for a Master Chief story. What's nice, though, is that built in is the ability to tell other stories later on. But this one, gameplay wise, is going to be you mostly on your own, most likely going around the world for whatever those missions are, those hubs within Zeta, by that Pelican pilot taking you around. But it looks like it's just going to be you two. And I would gather that the Banished are fighting the Prometheans throughout the ring for control, for the installation control. You'll deal with, if I had to guess, different Banished lieutenants and leaders like Asharium and whose name I can't pronounce.
Who was the guy they showed? And I'm not being smart, but who's the guy they showed at the end of last year's reveal? Who wasn't? Say it again.
Asherum.
Okay.
Asherum. Thank you. Yes. Thank you. Yep. And the books have actually alluded to him being a bigger bad too, because that presentation when we first saw him as a villain, you did not get Thanos vibes. You did not get big bad vibes. You kind of got these weird intermixings of the two. Whereas Atriox proper is a Thanos level villain. I mean, he is just an unstoppable force that's ready to go. That's awesome. He's one of the best pieces of writing is that they created Atriox to be a smart brute, which at first was not the case with a lot of the brutes. And now the Banished are led by smart and capable tacticians and warriors that are also brutish and capable. And so that's really cool. And I do hope we see the Swords of Sanghelios that's which for anyone, those are like special ops teams for the Sangheli going in there. Like I want to see that, and I want to see them explore some of those Covenant species and some of the finer points there, and let them be little nods. Like I'm going off right now, but bear with me. In Halo 5, when Locke and Chief fought each other, really lame fight, sure. Even the size difference between the two of them was not there, which it should have been. But Chief was like, go on. And Blue Team just gave him a little nod, like, you got this. And they just went. And those little subtle things are awesome for fans like me, because that was a cool, like, Linda, Fred, and Kelly, they were all on the same page. Like, oh, he's good. He's good. The whole team of Bucks over there, where he's fine. He doesn't matter. It's fine. Let's go.
Yeah.
Sorry, I got excited.
Yeah, so Darren DePaul, I guess, is the voice actor for Escharum. Loved the monologue, and I agree that the monologue was excellent.
Set a fire in your hearts.
Bare your teeth.
I'll say for the gameplay itself, because just to kind of get back to what you were saying initially about what we expect. Yeah, I don't think it's going to be fully open world. It seems like it's going to be like a semi-open world, and the type of semi-open world that I like to allude to is God of War 2018. And this is not a comparison for anybody to get your freaking whatever, your panties in a twist. But what I meant is the one thing I loved about the God of War's semi-open world is the side missions built onto the lore. Like there's one mission that I always talk about, for instance. You take Atreus to the small island, you meet this ghost, right, who wants you to do some sort of favor. You do Kratos tells him initially, he's like, no, we shouldn't do this. And this is a side mission. You don't need to do this at all. He tells him, no, we don't need to do this. He's like, no, Dad, please, blah, blah, blah. So you go end up doing it. You come back. And basically the whole premise of it is don't trust anyone, because you do the favor. The ghost ends up being a witch. She tries to kill you both. And then he yells at him. And that builds out. And then it builds on the lore, because he told him, he's like, I told you don't trust anyone. Right. That's what I'm hoping they do with this. Right? Because the whole side mission thing, if you can build a game with side missions that are relevant and that help give layers and like more layers to the story instead of just fetch quests. Yeah. That's where I think it's going to be very special,
like
and I think
that.
they're going to do that.
When I take a look at it, and I hope my mic's sounding better.
You're fine, Joe. Go
So you
for it.
sound great, man. Yeah.
You're fine.
All right, excellent. I've been having weird tech issues.
You're beautiful,
You sound
Joe.
terrible. You're the worst.
Shut your dumb, dirty mouth. I actually, when I took a look at the trailer for the first time, I got more Shadow of War vibes than anything. I think we're going to get these smaller open world chunks that we're exploring, and I think if anything's being taken from like a God of War 2018 is I don't want to talk to anybody. Like I don't want to walk up to a marine and accept it.
Yeah.
Right.
I want to walk into an area and go, what the hell is going on?
Yes.
And the story is naturally progressing with
Mystery.
me. You know, we talk about this, the San Helios folks. I want to have an infiltrating mission when I have that hub world all opened up or all conquered and have that moment, right? Like every little portion to me should feel like a climax to the next chapter, and then have your main quest somewhere along the beaten path. But you should be able to get lost in this world, and at the same exact time, the game guides you. That's where my head was going at when I was taking a look at, like, Master Chief could have turned easily left. Instead, he turned right, and he got to this brute guy, which I think is just like, I don't even know if he's going to be a main character or not, or main villain, right? Like, I just want to stumble across foes that I have to disperse any which way, that have personality to them, just like, again, Shadow War. When you meet those orcs, you run across them, some have really awesome arcs or little stories to them, or just like something to identify them as. And so that's what I really took a look at when I saw Halo Infinite. And verticality is also something that comes to mind with the grapple hook that Master Chief has. He's able to go places. You know, Halo is, to me, it's really when it comes to the first person aspect, just you're cemented onto the ground. I feel like you have, like, you know, little stairs or little things that beam you upwards, but this hook is really just giving you the ability to just do that at a whim, which Halo is usually. And maybe I'm just thinking of Combat Evolved here, but it's really just not about that. It has the path it wants to show you. So
well, we had jetpacks, and before that we had bugs that launched you a mile in the air. So we've always had verticality. Now it's just built in the game.
There you go. That's I was thinking too much in the Combat Evolved era, but
Travis over there rocket jumping.
Absolutely.
Jumps
They
on
still
it.
do it in Halo 2. They didn't take it out of
Yeah.
MCC.
Sure.
I still do it.
Yeah. So that's what I kind of want to do. And also the hook we saw it in the multiplayer stuff, is also used to like throw stuff or huck like stuff towards enemies. I love when I saw that, when you threw it at like the Warthog or whatever. Amazing. I want to use more environmental stuff to dispatch my foes, man. That would be fantastic. In
one of the recent, to your point, Joe, one of the recent Twitter posts that Stoughton made, my cat is suddenly going to join. Hello. He actually said, like, he was playing on Legendary. I may get this a little wrong, but playing on Legendary, and he dispatched some foes and got cocky and jumped over basically a mountain, a wall, if you will, and literally jumped into a banished camp where he said he got killed like immediately.
That's awesome.
Oh, that sounds so cool.
And that's pretty cool, right?
Yep.
So I think those kind of gameplay opportunities are there. One thing, real quick, if you don't mind, and forgive my ignorance here. I was actually going to bring up the Prometheans, because wherever you stand on the Prometheans as enemies, some Halo fans like them, some don't, what have you, blah, blah, blah. I like them. I always thought they were at least something different, something unique, and a different type of combat. One thing I've always loved about Halo is that the enemies have been a little smarter, right? You have to figure out tactical ways to combat them. Combat Evolved, go figure. But we have
in the name.
Correct me if I'm wrong, please. But we haven't seen them yet in this campaign footage, right? We've seen the Covenant, we've seen the Banished. We haven't seen the Prometheans. So you mentioned it, Luke, around we're probably going to be battling Prometheans, and I was going to ask that because I didn't finish all of Halo Wars 2. Mm-hmm. Should we assume, right? And I think we know, at least they've written, that we're going to fight all three, and that different areas of the map are going to be kind of designed in a way that alludes to the player that, hey, this is kind of a Covenant region, this is a Banished region, this is a Promethean region. Is that all accurate as you guys understand it so far?
So the Prometheans are still relevant enemies, as are the Banished, and my expectation is that they are going to purposely limit how much we see of the Prometheans through the course of most marketing. They don't show particularly well, and they're not overly diverse in visual aesthetic. Like gameplay wise, they can be diverse. I mean, some of them, the Knights and the whatnot, the Watchers are the worst, and I hate them all, and I hope they all burn in fire. But I would think canonically they steer away from using the Prometheans too much, because I mean, let's think about it. The big bads from 4 and 5 were repeated Promethean enemies over and over again. I mean, Warden Eternal, I couldn't care less. Right?
Wait till Warden shows up in the first mission.
Though, that said, I think
what a wasted Julum Dama thread, right? Sorry.
If you're making an open world game, even if it's semi-open world, you'd be really stupid to not use all of your enemy factions just for gameplay diversity. And we already know that Promethean weapons are in the game, so you got to assume that there's Prometheans and enemies you're killing to pick up their loot, that sort of stuff. So I think without a doubt we see them. I think they probably rework the enemy faction for the Prometheans a little bit, add at least more visual diversity to them, because I assume that they're, if you jump into a Banished camp, you probably can jump into a Promethean camp, and if there's like a little mini boss or whatever, we're gonna not want to fight the Warden Eternal a million times. Although I would be happy if there was like one appearance of the Warden Eternal, and maybe they put like 5 of them there, or something like that. 5 of them in the same camp or something, just as a
it's just a Warden camp.
It's just here he is 5 times.
So Sark asks, chances we'll see the Flood while we're on this topic.
Strong.
There is one enemy faction that they have not used for a few games.
I think the Zeta Halo backstory.
Go ahead, Joe.
I think the Flood are
I have the hottest of all takes. I love the Flood.
They're
awesome.
Yeah.
It adds a horror element to Halo, man. Like, and I'm a big scaredy cat. I still remember to this day crapping my pants playing Halo CE when the Flood came around, and you're watching the video of Jenkins, and you're like, "What is going on?"
Like, it starts like, playing that music.
What happened to my shooter?
Dude, my
shooter just become a survival horror. What
exactly. My body temp went up like 5 degrees there, dude. I was about to pass out. I was like, I think the chances are high for Flood. I even think we might get bosses.
This is where Halo 2 and stuff. Halo Wars 2 comes in for that, because I'm backing you up on the bosses thing too. Yeah, Awakening the Nightmare is a must look into for any Halo fan, right? And I'm sure if they're smart, they will recap it, and I think they would give you some sort of background there. But to Pat's point, you see Flood bosses that are relevant. They're not just like cheap. They're really fun to play against. Joe, you remember you and I would do the Horde mode in Halo Wars 2, and those big walkers would show up. Like, there's a lot of cool potential for the Flood. I did not like the Flood when I first. I grew to appreciate them later on, but when I first played it, I didn't really like it. And a lot of games have done Flood-like enemies really well in the last few years. And think about like World War Z and its Horde mechanics. Can you imagine the idea of some sort of Flood-esque in the World War Z style? Like that is terrifying. That'd
or
be
even
so
introducing them into Firefight, dude. How dope would like Firefight be with some Flood, incorporated into it? That would be.
You are speaking my language, man. Halo Wars, everyone go play it.
Joey says, "Hot take, the Flood did nothing wrong."
That is an actual hot take. I want Flood, Prometheans. I want the Banished. I also want you to fight the Covenant offshoot, the renegades that are still against you. I want all of them in there.
Yeah, you know what? Silent Shadow in there too. Like,
they're the keepers of the one freedom.
The more the merrier in terms.
We call them the zealots. Okay.
I don't think that they'll be able. I don't think they'll be able to shoehorn all of these enemy types into one biome. We've only seen one biome so far, right?
Yeah.
Which is what we're calling the semi-open world right now. What if they just have? I mean, what would I think be great is if they have multiple biomes, each one with its own semi-open map like that, and each one has a different enemy type.
And
one biome has the Banished. Yeah. One biome has the Prometheans. One biome has
Think Metroid Prime. That's what's going to happen.
But I think they've actively said that you can explore and find different enemies as you're playing. So I don't think they're going that route where you'd you'd break it up into sections.
I wouldn't
like
want
that.
them to either.
And
I
they
feel
called
that
it
would get
one
stale.
biome too.
Yeah, exactly. And to
All
me,
one biome. So it's gonna
Like
be the
Pacific
forest
Northwest looking biome is the one biome they're going with at launch. They said.
Yeah, there's full day and night cycle. There's
Yeah.
different kind of
Okay, I didn't know
terrain and
that.
other stuff,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
But yeah,
because they've had different biomes in the previous games, man. You've had deserts, you've had
Which was
freaking,
disappointing. to me,
tundras.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I was kind of alluding to it.
We
you know,
still might
but-
get variations, like they called it, I think, splinters off of that main biome, but they said it's mainly a Pacific Northwest biome because then people asked about like dynamic weather because in the Slip Space Engine trailer we saw snow-covered mountains, we saw deserts, we saw a lake and stuff. I still think obviously we'll get like lakes and stuff like that, but they said it's mainly the Pacific Northwest biome at launch. So I'm still hoping for. I come from a snowy area. I want to see snow in the game. I love snowy areas. So
yeah, I see. Okay, I got you.
I would love to walk like I don't want like biome 1 is just the Banish. Biome 2 is just
no way.
I want to see
that's not good.
Yeah, I want to see conflict within each region.
Two betrayals, the 3-way war. Like imagine that
Yes.
taken to the next level with where you're having the mobs encounter each other. And
Yeah.
I think they can take a page like I talk about Destiny on Fire Team chat all the time. If there's like one thing that Destiny does well, it's that all their enemy factions, they use them all, and the way that they interact with each other is really cool. And Halo has that same advantage, except for I would argue their factions are better. So,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really what I would. If they can do that, that's awesome. No,
It'd be
And like giving you the chance if you're like, you see like a couple of brutes, fighting a couple of flood, and you're like, should I get in here? Should I?
do I
mix
want to
it
jump
up?
in the middle of this? Yeah.
Yeah.
that's
Okay.
that
Okay.
Breath of the Wild influence as well.
Yeah, exactly.
I also
Absolutely.
I really would like it if they could put in some moments like, in Halo 3 where that brute chieftain just 1v1s you while the rest of his minions watch. Like that's one of my favorite moments in any of the Halo games. He's just like, let's do this. If they could put like moments like that happen organically as you're exploring the world, that would be amazing. Because I mean, they have the tech to do that now.
Absolutely.
So one last thing I wanted to ask you guys about the actual engine, because we talked about Slip Space for a second. This is the first time we're playing Halo on a new engine.
Yes.
And I've seen tons of interviews where people at Bungie and at 343 say like there's stuff written so deep in that code that's why they've kept it for so long. They were like afraid to replace it. And I think one of the things that they were afraid to replace is the AI. Halo's AI has been outmatching games that came out like this year. The first Halo Combat Evolved has better AI than games that came out this year. And I think that's just because whoever wrote that code, they just like lightning in a bottle. Nobody's been able to like figure out how to reproduce that alchemy. And then also there's like the physics engine, the way frag grenades bounce around, and some of the like the little details that help it feel like Halo. Are any of you guys concerned about that huge shift to finally move away from the old engine and possibly losing some of the magic?
I didn't until you said all that stuff. That's for sure.
yeah,
Because-
honestly, neither did I.
Yeah, because for me, I like what you said, Travis. 100% right. There is nothing a game that like AI wise that has challenged me or I like shit. This elite killed me. Like how did like they just. Some games trick you. Well, when you kill someone, they're like, "You killed Phil, you son of a gun." It's like these actually feel aggressive, and yeah, that does concern me a little bit. But I have faith that they wouldn't pour hundreds upon hundreds of billions of rupees into this if they didn't have faith that they could replicate this. There's a lot on the line. So I think they know this needs to feel like Halo because look, the first trailer, right? Everybody yelled at him because it didn't look like Halo.
Yeah.
I think you're making good points, and it's really about does it feel? How does it feel? Does it look and feel like Halo in the way that only Halo can have? There's a magic there that exists, and I don't think Halo 5 executed on that. Bit and I were just playing earlier. We love the game, like mechanically, it's great. But something doesn't feel like Halo, lighting or otherwise. And as far as the engine, Travis, you make a great point with that old code and it being really the foundation for games and games and games. But clearly that wasn't working. And this is not to you, Travis, but this is to anyone else. That clearly was fading in relevance, both in the way that Halo was presented to people outside of those that might listen to a roundtable. And now they're trying to rebrand Halo in a new way to bring more people on board, which I'm fine with. But they needed to evolve that engine, again, forgive the pun, into a more relevant state where we can have a platform to build more stories, more experiences. I mean, everybody consistently brings up Battle Royale as we go towards release. The idea that it does or doesn't exist doesn't interest me, but the idea that somebody can build it and it be worth it, that's cool. The foundation of Slipstream engine. Slipspace. Thank you. I knew it was off.
Fan,
is exciting for me. Yeah, it's exciting for me. The other part that stoked one of my favorite aspects of Halo multiplayer is armor customization. Building the components. Master Chief Collection has done a good job at letting you assemble your player. Halo 5 does a passable job of this, but I will absolutely make my player look like Noble One or whatever else from the Halo universe. I hope that somehow that exists in the campaign. The idea that you can armor augment and change yourself, and your Spartan can have different tweaks.
You're Master Chief, though. You're not just a Spartan in the campaign.
Your point is, and the reason I understand and recognize that, but they've said they were going to have different elements of RPG-esque type things. Not full the way there, but if I can put a rocket pack on my Chief or a grapple hook on my Chief, I'll have to make a choice, and then I can customize those things. So maybe I meant more in like ability, not in appearance. Maybe that's more what I was talking about. I didn't mean to.
They've actually talked about that too. In the original gameplay reveal for the campaign that we got last year, there was an upgrades menu. When they paused on the hill with the Warthog and you're looking at the map, there's an upgrades menu. You could upgrade equipment certain ways in the game. I actually made a theory video a while back. I don't think it's really true anymore. In the original Slipspace engine demo, when you see Chief holding his helmet and they zoom out to the Zeta Halo, that's a totally different armor on Chief than what we see, obviously. And that could just be design iteration, obviously. Yeah. But I had made, kind of like what you were saying, Insipid, like, what if that's like a lighter armor for Chief, your faster movement speed or something like that, or this beefy looking tanky Chief is you could take more damage like that. I know that's like out there, but there could still be definitely some. I know for a fact, like I said, the equipment upgrade is something. And I saw Rapscallion made a comment. I was gonna say it too, just as a joke, because we're talking about Halo's AI is great. Don't get me wrong, but have you guys seen Cat drive in Halo 8? That is absolutely true, dude. Like she cannot drive to save her life.
No
but
doubt.
I am not worried. Back to Travis's point, I'm not worried at all about the Slipspace maintaining the feel of Halo. You make a great point, but there is still remnants of the Blam engine in the Slipspace engine. It is not completely new. It is tore from the ground up to be a new engine, but they said they still kept remnants of the Blam engine in there. And I think, and from the gameplay, obviously we won't know till we play it, till these flights come out. We play it.
It does look Halo.
It does look exactly
and
like
I
Halo.
think I have faith. I hope it's not misguided, but I have faith that if we recognize this, obviously they recognize this. Yeah. It's been they've been working on this game for years, right? There's a massive multi-$100 million investment on the engine and getting this right. We saw a year delay. I think they know 100% this has to look, feel, and play as people like us think it's going to and expect it's going to, and they can't even afford for it not to.
Yeah.
I think they will hit that, even though it's kind of scary to your point to think about it. One of the other things people may not know, Travis, that, in that list of things you talked about, original Halo CE, is the magnetism. The original aim for FPSs on consoles, the magnetism and how that cursor moved and slowed down and all the different nuances to that all comes from Halo CE. And it just, built on variations of that over years. So, it is a little concerning, but I do have faith that they'll nail it.
Yeah, me too. I've I'm pretty deep in like Halo Reddits and stuff like that. So like I've seen people have different opinions on this, but I'm sort of optimistic. I think, Halo 5 multiplayer to me felt very Halo, but modernized. I mean, to Luke's point, they've always
Halo 5 is the best multiplayer.
I agree.
Second best.
I agree.
Okay.
You think Halo 2 is number one? Or
Halo 2 is
3?
my number one personally.
Okay, so I was Halo 2, but I go back and forth between 2 and
Yes,
5. I
yeah.
honestly think 5 might be the best, but
Yes.
so like I still think that even over the years, there's always been like that core thing about Halo multiplayer that just makes it feel like no other game. And so
Exactly.
obviously I get some anxiety about it, but you guys are totally right. If you look at especially the multiplayer, which we're going to talk about next, is like if you see that gameplay, you instantly recognize it. Obviously, we won't know for sure until we see it, but I have a lot of faith that these guys know what they're doing. I think that they've done a great job being the caretakers of Halo, and it was probably time, right, to get rid of that old
they have
and do something.
They have to, especially for where the single player is going, right? And to I don't know if Joe or Luke said it, but to kind of the battle royale conversation of like the capability to build in larger scale battles, right? But I think also, this is just an example I'll give because I do follow a lot of this development pretty closely, right? It's like Quinn Del Hoyo, he's just one person of hundreds of obviously in the development team, right? But he was the lead multiplayer designer on Halo 5, and he worked with the Halo pros that came into 343 to test and help build and design and make all these critical decisions for how Halo 5 multiplayer would play. He is now promoted to lead sandbox designer. And the reason I bring that up is just to say that him and his team obviously did such a great job on Halo 5's multiplayer. The fact that he's the sandbox designer, which affects both campaign and multiplayer, I think is a testament to kind of the talent and kind of, what those guys can do in terms of everything we're talking about, look, feel, how it plays. Yeah. So I have faith in that.
I like Quinn a lot.
Yeah, he's a good dude. Dude. So guys, we're kind of already leading ourselves there, right? I feel like we're itching to talk about multiplayer. So let's go ahead and get to it. Joe's armoring up.
Here we go.
Is it time? Like, are we doing this?
Yeah.
I have that. Yeah,
I have that too.
Mine's not even nearby, but
mine's across the room.
So multiplayer. I think I obviously won't speak for anyone, but I've watched the E3 multiplayer trailer. I don't even know how many times now. I literally muted we were in a party, me, Mo, and a bunch of guys, and I muted myself during the reveal. And I just said, you need to leave me alone. I went on mute, watched it, and I was like jumping. I was like a kid, guys. I was jumping like off of my couch watching it because there were so many throwbacks, callbacks, Easter eggs, whatever you want to call them, for people who have been playing Halo multiplayer for decades now. It just excites me to no end. So we can kind of go in any direction you want to go here. There's a lot of aspects to cover that if you're not paying close attention, you may not know, right? We could talk about the Academy and their comments around how you're going to create your own identity, your own Spartan, going back to what Luke was talking about, right? To where full customization, your kind of partner AI, all these other things, right? We can talk about Sandbox, the weaponry, what they're doing with movement, the abilities that are being removed from Halo 5. And we can talk about what we've seen out of like things like Big Team, the Valhalla kind of remnant map we saw, Big Team moving to 12 on 12 instead of 8 on 8. So there's a lot of aspects here. I say we start with your guys' thoughts on the whole building your own identity, the Academy, the ability, which I think is fantastic, by the way, to go through training for new players, play against bots, even in bots in custom games, which is awesome. So where you guys, talk about it, right? Customization, building your identity, the Academy, this whole kind of play into making it feel like you're creating a character in the Halo universe.
I think that got me the most excited. I'm going to cut Luke off because I don't care what he thinks he said.
I think what we need to focus on here is that Gears of War 5 absolutely nailed it with the letting you go through training. And Gears 5, if you've not played it, they did a really good job at onboarding new players early on with that training mode. And I think that likely informed some of what they're trying to do. And I just wanted to make that point because I knew Joe wouldn't make it because,
Thank you. For me, identity is a big thing because, like, it goes back to when I was a kid painting my stormtroopers different colors to make them look like the Master Chief. I get it. right? Magic markers ain't it's not like what these kids got nowadays, but like identity means a whole lot. They're like, you know, Halo 2, I remember always constantly switching on and off different armor sets to, you know, look different or whatnot. So like even Halo 5, I see as we get back into the multiplayer, I'm constantly getting new helmets, I'm trying them on and, you know, doing all that sorts of stuff. You know what, Ains? I'll talk about that. I will. I definitely will. When I jumped into Halo 5 for the first time, that was when it first launched, and it was just not great. But going back now, revisiting it, all right, settle down, old man. But going back and revisiting it, I love how so many of the Spartans look different to me that I'm aiming at and I'm shooting at. The one cool thing that I was told, I forget if it was by Luke or by you, Ains, is, you know, they're going away from the red versus blue element.
They are.
They are and completely abandoning it. Yeah,
that's so great because there's so many times where I'm like, why even mess with my colors? I'm just gonna be red or blue.
Yeah.
You know,
you gotta let go, man.
The only thing
with that.
There's only 2 points. Trust me, I'm okay with it. And I love the fact that no matter what team you're on or what mode you're playing, you'll have your unique identity with you, right? I get the concept behind it. Red versus blue obviously has historical context in Halo, and it plays a big part. So I get it. You know, you move away from that. The thing I am concerned about, in all seriousness, is we've heard there's going to be this outline, right, of players, which is going to kind of highlight what team they're on. Gears does that, and I can promise you, as a Gears player, I've shot my teammates countless times because it's
you're not
just
very good.
Hey, I haven't had that problem.
You want to play me
Gears?
You want to play me Gears?
I'm good at Gears.
But you know what I mean, right? Like Battlefield's the same, Call of Duty's the same, you know, where players don't have this standout, unique difference. I am a little concerned there, but I don't want to bring the conversation down in that sense. We'll see, obviously, in the flighting soon. But I do agree with you.
I would be
Joe,
willing
that
to bet that they have a red versus blue mode. You can
like option,
right.
yeah. If they do, I'll probably turn it on.
There is a tinge, though. There is a blue or a red tinge to the other team. Like
they
you
call
can
it
still
an aura. Yeah.
Well, yeah, whatever. Yeah, tinge aura. Yeah,
and you can customize. You can customize the color of it too.
Yes,
it's not just red versus blue.
Right, right.
Yeah.
So
now the show's just called reddish versus bluish aura.
Right. Chroma. It's just called chroma.
Next problem.
Keep in mind, red versus blue, totally irrelevant to the majority of new fans that are going to be taking this one out. And I think that's why.
I'm worried about just making sure that it's quickly identifiable. That's it.
There's two cool things about that. There's the armor coding system obviously will allow you to shine through as your character progression, which I think's made a lot more people open to the coding debate because it was kind of a hot topic in the Halo community when it first got announced. Now people are becoming more open to it. But from a business standpoint, hi Kat, from a business standpoint, definitely it makes sense. You want to push codings. 343 is going to want to push those codings, obviously, to make players want to buy them or whatever, or invest in the battle pass and things like that. So I saw this coming and I was fully prepared for it. To some, it means a lot more than to others, but so far I don't have a problem with it. Obviously, there's a big factor between Gears and Halo that isn't there. I've been just played Gears 5 like literally all night last night.
Nice.
Been enjoying that again. So I did it once. I shot a teammate once. I was like, oh, but they have like the little blue, the arrows above them and stuff. But Halo has team fire on, friendly fire. Gears doesn't. So that will be a real decide that you pump a shotgun into your teammate. Betrayal.
But to be fair, when has the red versus blue coloration ever prevented us from accidentally killing our teammates in Halo? I've been doing it on purpose since Halo came out.
Yeah, I mean,
Ames tries to grab the sniper. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? That give me that.
But I don't want to get hung up on that. So
no,
I will say for the color thing first. There has been, if you get into like really competitive, which back in the Halo 2 days, I was like the sweatiest dude of this. Like I was rank 50 in comp, like super sweaty. This was like I was in high school, so it was like in my prime. My only responsibility in life was playing Halo.
So that was so long ago for Ains. So long ago.
Yeah, I know. That was like. Yeah, his
back when he had hair.
Moving on.
I think he was 40 when Halo 1.
I love Travis, man. I love him.
Okay,
he got
great. Let's get him on.
But I will say, in the super competitive world, there has been the discrepancy of the coin toss. If you get red team, you're more likely to lose the match because they're more visible. And so now in the highly competitive world, everyone's just going to make their armor as like, you know, whatever the map is, like gray, you know, grayscale armor, so that they're less likely to get noticed. And Destiny actually has this exact same problem where there's like that. Do you want to be sweaty and make your character look super bland to fit in? Or do you want to be like this, you know, neon glowing, cool looking dude? But then when you get into comp, you're just like a Christmas tree. Like everybody just shoots right at you. So that is my concern. But about the customization, I will say the thing that got me the most stoked is the AI thing. I think that's brilliant. I think it's awesome that they're doing that, because I will absolutely pay to, you know, have a grunt voice AI, or, you know, this kind of the same stuff they did in Halo 5 for the announcer. Absolutely. But I also love that it's like canonizing your Spartan and their AI in their head and all that. I think that that's beautiful. I do wonder, on the cutscene that we saw, is there going to be a story to the multiplayer, kind of similar to what Halo 4 tried to do with, like, forget what it's called, but it was like Spartan Ops. Thank you. Something like that. Or is that just an intro to the training mode or something like that? I have questions about that, but
there will definitely be a story. I think. I think you're right. Just like talk. If Travis, if you get time, go read the thing when I was talking about with the Reach picture. Ains might have the link to it. Ains, do you have the link to it, to the latest Inside?
Was this the update?
The latest what? I didn't hear you.
It was on the 24th, just like 5 days ago.
You can find it on our site as always.
Joe Staten talked about your multiplayer character playing a bigger role in the multiplayer. They're not really ready to reveal too much about it yet, but that they have a story to tell, and that your multiplayer character will be center stage in that story. So I think we're definitely
If my AI can't be Craig the Brute, I don't want an AI. Just saying.
He basically said that they want to deeply root the multiplayer character into the larger Halo universe and give them some sort of vital role in the Halo story moving forward. So people are thinking.
I read this one. This is the Bungie update, right, or the Halo update? Sorry. I read this, but my impression from it was that, like, this might be in the future. You know what I mean? Like an update or something where we get a piecemeal over time. And that's different from what the Spartan Ops did, which was like actually try to tell a story in game through multiplayer. So
I'm just interested to see. I still think we'll get something at launch, but it will develop more as future seasons go.
I think the first season being called Heroes of Reach, it's honestly, it might be deliberate. You know, because if they could use your multiplayer character to tell some sort of Reach type of story, you know. I don't know. You know, like,
do you think it'll take place in a different? Because I thought it was the next generation of Spartans, but I can see there's no reason that they couldn't just be like, hey, this takes place like during the fall of Reach, and you play one of the many Spartans that died on that. They could do that, but just based on what we've read so far, I don't think that's.
No, I think it's going to be. It could still take place on Reach, but I don't know if we're going to go back to the story of Reach. I think it's a new story starting at Reach, because we're training new Spartans on Reach. Yeah, and that's where the story would take place.
So you're saying they recolonized Reach?
Yeah. It's now inhabitable again. It's kind of recovered.
Okay.
Have you finished Shadows of Reach, Pat?
Not yet, but I've heard I need to.
No spoilers.
I finished Point of Light first.
Really should.
I need to go back and finish Shadows of Reach.
Habitable.
Yes.
Yeah.
But question for you guys, because Travis, you said piecemeal. It got me thinking of how this game is going to be kind of like parceled out to everybody. Does that
games as a
worry
service.
anybody? Yeah, like we bring up Destiny. Destiny very much piecemealed some stuff as the game progressed, and at start very hollow. Are you guys afraid of that? Just grand scope.
I'm terrified of that. I mean, I've covered Destiny since it came out in 2014, and it's just been like, I say this all the time, but it's one of the best and 10 of the worst games I've ever played. Like, that's the problem with when you put it out over time, is that the audience always wants more, and it always feels like at initial launch there isn't enough, and there's just like so many pitfalls. And then if you hit one stumbling block along your games as a service path, then people say, oh, it's dead, and then it becomes way harder for the next one to actually recover. And so, I'm afraid of it, but I think Xbox has been doing games as a service for a while. A lot of their games have it. Halo 5 is actually a great example of one that kind of crushed it as a games as a service. They didn't they didn't have the full model that Infinite's going to have, but they kind of got their feet wet with it. But I am scared, man. There's like so many pitfalls to doing that, and I'm worried that like Halo Infinite at launch isn't going to feel like a complete game. You know, when I reviewed Destiny Vanilla, I gave it a 6 out of 10. And if I'm staring down the barrel of a 6 out of 10 Halo Infinite because it felt like it was an incomplete game because it's games of service, that would be devastating. I would be. But do I think that's going to happen? No, I think that they're probably exaggerating how much it's going to be games of the service.
I always think of the meme like every time there's a new Destiny update, it's like Destiny players. It's like Captain Holt from Brooklyn Nine-Nine going, "I'm elated." I am utterly crushed. Like that's I don't want Halo to feel like that though. That is my worry as well. When they said we have everything ready for launch, I'm like, oh no. I need this to be my game of the year.
Sorry, Luke, I know you're gonna talk sorry, Mike had to let my cat out because you drive me bonkers. But I think when they say that, right, what they're meaning is they're talking about their long-term plan, right? It's not that the game's gonna be lacking features at launch. It's gonna be that they're going to do so much more with it over time. Yeah. Sorry, Luke.
Well, I was going to say, I think there's a couple things you can take solace in because it's a worthy and reasonable fear to have that they would piecemeal it. I think everybody should have that on their radar and give them hell if they do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think it's less likely to launch as an unfinished product because we had a year delay wisely. Moreover, we've seen them in the last 2.5 years treat Sea of Thieves very well, Master Chief Collection very well, and Gears 5 very well with consistent, worthwhile content drops. So, and if you were to grade Sea of Thieves when it came out versus its state now,
which
6 and 9, right? 6 and like it's just very different games, despite being the same foundation. I know, Joe. I'm sorry. And then you've got Gears, which Gears 5's multiplayer doesn't get talked about a lot. Still very healthy, just like Halo 5's. They learned a lot about how to give content drops to rabid communities, and that's awesome. So I think there's a lot of precedent for us to be worried about people piecemealing stuff. Destiny is the perfect example. But we do have some recent enough evidence to suggest that maybe they won't. And the idea that they are going to have to monetize but not be predatory the way Halo 5 is not predatory. Gears isn't necessarily predatory.
Halo 5 isn't bad at all.
The Battle Pass news is fairly welcome.
Battle Pass.
Yeah, it's awesome.
You know, like
so being able to play it retroactively.
Like once you have it, it's just always there.
It's yours. That's it. They can't.
You know how much anxiety I have at the end of a Fortnite.
The FOMO. Oh my god.
And to go with your point, Luke, is I think they learned from Halo 5 because Halo 5 wasn't a complete game at launch. We're missing Forge at launch. But to what Travis said,
and Big Team,
Big Team, which Big Team never really recovered in my opinion in Halo 5. Halo 4 had a great Big Team, but Halo 5, and it looks like it's back. But what Travis said, they really hit the nail on the head with post-launch support with Halo 5.
Yes,
constant updates, constant reasons to get the player base excited to come back, and that's going back because I know me and Ains want this. I know that a lot of the Halo community does it, but that's where a battle royale could fall in post-launch to get a player base reinvigorated into the game and to bring new players in at the same time. I am not as worried as I am with other games like Destiny. I'm a big Destiny fan as well, but I'm more on the PvE side of things. With Halo, I'm addicted to the PvP. I don't get sick of Halo multiplayer. Yeah, me. So that's a big differentiator for me personally, is why I'm not as worried, because I know I'm going to be playing that multiplayer, enjoying it, because there looks like to be a ton of things to grind for. But for other players who are looking for other things out of Halo, like campaign DLC or expansions like that, maybe there is a little bit of more, I guess being scared of it not having enough content for them at launch. But I'm not worried yet from what I've seen.
No, and in fact, let me touch on this, guys. And I'm sorry, like I said, I had to step away, but Rap brings up a good point, and I want to touch on this while we're talking about it. Is that the seasons they've described, right? These 3-month-long seasons, the free battle pass, paid battle pass that doesn't expire, all these concepts you guys just touched on. But what they specifically spoke about in this latest update was fractures, right? And these fractures are going to be broader content brought into the multiplayer suite that will actually have canon at times and story beats to them. So I know you guys kind of dipped your toes in this conversation already, but they've already said the fact that the content they're delivering in these multiplayer seasons, I think it's going to be more than what you may associate with other games in the industry. You mentioned Fortnite, you mentioned Apex. I mean, Apex does things a little differently as well, but I mean, it feels like they're, what we've talked about multiple times tonight, right, is pushing into the extended canon of Halo, because I think we all agree there's so much there. And there's many, many ways they can do that. It feels like what Staten was alluding to in this multiplayer update is exactly that, with these fractures. And in fact, I believe, someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but the I forget the name of it, but the new, your boy, the Hayabusa kind of, you know, the new that everyone's so pumped about. They said that that's fracture 1 in season 1. That's you can earn it for free. So you know, I'm definitely confident. And by the way, I'll throw this up.
Beautiful,
awesome. I will. I'm very confident that
feel things.
They know, right? They know that this is going to be the biggest Halo ever at launch, right? It's never launched on Xbox and PC at the same time. It's launching on Xbox One, as we know, and the series consoles and PC. It's free to play multiplayer. This game is going to boom at launch. And I think they know, in a competitive market where you've got Fortnite, you've got Call of Duty, you've got Apex, you've got all these other games, you've got Battlefield launching this year, right? They know that they may not, for a percentage of new players, get a second opportunity to capture interest in Halo, right? So if they come into Halo, they play for a week and they feel like they're not making progress. They feel like there's not enough content to unlock. There's nothing interesting to do. You'll lose them. And I think it feels like they're acutely aware of that. And I think because of that, players like us who are going to consume all of the content they give us are just going to be in for like Christmas, because it's going to be more than I think we're used to getting from Halo specifically.
And if I could get on an industry soapbox for just a second, I really think everyone in the industry, whether they play Halo or not, should be rooting for Halo Infinite to be successful, because they're doing everything right in terms of the model that they're setting up. And I think that if they're successful, it'll pressure other games to follow. And like, for example, doing the season passes where you can work on getting XP at any time. If Halo Infinite just blows up, they're going to be asking, why doesn't Apex do that? Why doesn't Destiny do that? And some of that, that FOMO and that pressure to like get you online because time's running out and to drive up that player base will go away. And some of the other stuff that they're doing, I think, making multiplayer 3, all that stuff. If Halo is successful, it'll help the industry as a whole. I'm convinced, just based on everything that they've shown us.
Agree 100%. And I think people forget that Halo 5, because it's now 6 years old, right? When Halo 5 came out, there were microtransactions were spreading their wings, if you will. Loot boxes were a big thing. What Halo 5 came out and did is said everything you earn, right, in these packs, you can earn just by playing. You never have to buy one. And there's never any duplicates. You could unlock 100% of all of the cosmetics in Halo 5 just by playing.
Which free maps, which was big too.
And free maps. Thank you. There was no map pass, right? Which at the time in 2015 was forward thinking, and I completely
agree
with you.
Now it's the standard.
Now it's the standard. That's why I'm bringing it up, Travis. I completely agree with your point that I think if Halo's as big as we think it's going to be, and I'm pretty confident it will be, it will drive some change in the industry. And I've said this multiple times now, so I'm sorry to bring it up, but that's why I said I feel it's weird. Not that I don't want to pay it, and I'm going to pay it anyway, but I feel it's weird that Battlefield is coming out at $70 for multiplayer only, when you look at the market, and the market has dictated that, all these other billion-dollar multiplayer games are free to play. But that's a whole nother topic. I don't want to take us into that realm. So stay on Halo. But yeah,
fair. But it's a fair concern. The one thing I really want Fractures to do is something that other games have touched on within the Xbox Game Studio, and that's crossovers. And hear me out before anyone jumps off.
You're not getting Batman in our Halo game, all right, Luke?
What I mean to say is, in Gears 5, you got to play as 2 Spartans in multiplayer out the gate.
Yep.
And it was an incentive, and unfortunately not followed up, but it really had some really cool visuals.
A serious question. Did you like that they had the Spartans and the Terminator and these crossovers in Gears?
I think it fits in Gears. I don't think it would fit in Halo, to be honest.
So I didn't even like it in Gears, personally. But
so I thought it fit. I thought the Spartans fit quite well. And I would, if there's a way to buy a cog armor in Halo Infinite, I'm there. But think about the Halo race in Forza Horizon 4. Think about armors that could be fired by Perfect Dark or Sea of Thieves or Doom Slayer. And think about the potential armor crossovers. I want that. I want them to have fun with this multiplayer because
very scared. What you were saying, yeah.
That's fine, but I think it's fair to be scared, but the potential is there, and they need to have fun with it. One of the problems with when you try to be a purist game is that you lose people over time. How do you keep people in? You bring them in from other audiences, and they need to cultivate that Xbox Game Studio. And now Doomslayer would be dope ass armor.
Yeah.
You know,
put the Banana Man in Fortnite in.
I get what you're saying now. You're saying like armor inspired by other franchises.
Yes,
kind of like
I think that's okay.
I think that's totally fine. I was thinking like, you know, playing Marcus Phoenix as like your.
Me too.
No,
but I thought you meant Luke.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
I do.
Go ahead.
No, I was saying I do agree with you because, like, you know, like the samurai armor that they have, you can't canonize that. You know, how are you going to explain to people? How are you going to try to shoehorn that into a story about 22nd, 23rd century Spartans wearing freaking 16th or 17th century samurai armor? Like, you can't, right?
It's how you beat Warden Eternal finally.
Yeah, exactly. So
you know, Halo's never had trouble having fun though. I mean, they put like dry skins on your pistols and stuff like that. So I think we'll be fine.
There's two ways that Halo can do it. Ains already touched on it. The fractures are non-canon, like the armor rewards are non-canonized.
Yes.
So you could totally do crossovers that way.
Sure.
And the personal AI. People have mentioned maybe bringing in Vega from Doom as a personal AI voice. That would be a really cool crossover. Awesome, and that's not,
didn't they have
cosmetic.
Like a Snoop Dogg
only
announcer?
the player hears that. Yeah.
Yes.
So,
one of the Call of Duty games had like a Snoop Dogg announcer, so they could just.
Oh my God! Come on now,
Craig.
That Ice Cube in Black Ops.
Dude, if I could get a Kevin Conroy freaking AI who voices Batman in the animated series, I could die a happy man, dude. I would love that.
Give me Morgan Freeman, man. I want Morgan Freeman.
That would be dope.
I want Spartan Locke.
Good fight. Yes,
Spartan Locke.
Yeah. So his voice, just to remember.
Yeah, the AI, I think we all agree, has a ton of opportunities there, and I agree with you, Luke, in terms of a design aesthetic, right? You could do a call kind of themed armor, right?
Yeah.
And the Doomslayer themed, 100%. So. Let's talk on this because I think this is where the multiplayer trailer really got a lot of people excited and also surprised to a degree is mechanics. And mechanics are critical, right? I mean, we could talk about mechanics all night, I'm sure. So the one thing I want to start off with is you look at Halo 5's toolbox, which was far broadened out from prior Halos, right? You had Spartan Charge, you had your Spartan Slam or whatever they call it, you know? Yeah. And all of that's gone. Now, the one thing that surprised me, and I want to hear your guys' thoughts on this, especially you, Pat, because obviously you play a ton of competitive, thrust is gone. Mm-hmm. And I feel, I'm not even going to touch on sprint. Sprint's in the game. We're moving on. All right.
But it has the same limitations as Halo 5, which I think is important.
I thought they were good. Yeah. I thought they were good.
Well, they haven't confirmed with the shield recharge yet. That's what I'm worried about.
I would be so surprised if they took that away. That was such a genius.
It was smart.
Middle ground.
It was definitely smart.
Yeah. So the thing about I completely agree with the Spartan Charge, the Slam, right? The Levitate is gone as well.
Yep.
Good.
But the thrust I find interesting because the thrust really created a new dynamic in how you navigate the maps, right? It allowed you to clamber and all these kind of different areas. It also really changed the way you engage with players. You could misdirection became something very real in Halo 5, right? Where you could almost fake or lean or jump like you're going one way and quickly change direction and make people miss that final shot. So I'm personally very surprised that they're getting rid of thrust. I thought that would stay. Are you guys, I mean, are you with me or am I being dumb?
No, actually, I really like thrust.
Yeah, I liked all the Spartan abilities, to be honest. I mean, none of them felt broken to me. Like Mantle,
I didn't think they felt broken. I think they're trying to purify it.
I did not like Ground Pound and Spartan Charge personally.
I mean, they were kind of useless though. Like
they were.
They didn't feel essential.
You're not going to
but
really
it helps
miss
make you
them.
feel more like a Spartan. So
Right.
if they're not OP and like changing the way you play the game, it's like the same thing with sprint. When I see people sprinting in Halo, I'm like, sucker. Like, you must not have played the OGs because you're about to get killed and your shields aren't.
It's not like you can shoot while you're a target.
And that's the big thing about Infinite Sprint, though, that I was bringing up. If they're even going to bring, because this has been a debate, if they're even bringing back the shield recharge.
They must.
It's a much slower sprint than Halo 5, and your weapon is ready almost instantly coming out of sprint. If you slow down these trailers, like I'm sure we've all watched them, like Ain said, I've watched this trailer at least 50 freaking times, and I've slowed it down.
It won't be back, the shield?
I'm not saying I don't think it won't be back. I personally want it to be back, but we don't have any evidence. Even slowing the trailer down, you never see a shield bar while somebody's sprinting to be able to tell if it isn't coming back. I want it back personally because that eliminates one of my main gripes about Sprint and Halo. Halo's a tactical shooter. You should have to think about an engagement before you go into it. If you decide to run away from an engagement, your shield shouldn't recharge. You should be punished for going in instead of trying to run away. That's my opinion. But this, like I said, if you look at the base movement speed in this Halo versus sprint speed, it is very minimal boost. Very minimal.
Yeah, the sprint's slower. Yeah,
extremely slower. Like Halo 5's is very fast. And the other main argument with sprint was having your weapon ready. Once you press that sprint animation, your weapon's down, your reticle disappears, and then after that sprint animation, your weapon comes back up. This one, it's ready almost immediately. You even have a little reticle while you're sprinting to see what's going on. So there's arguments that they may not be back. I hope it is back still on top of everything else we've seen. I think it is a much better like middle ground. Halo 5 took a great middle ground with its sprint. I think Halo Infinite, if it keeps that, takes another great jump towards pleasing both the classic community who, for whatever reason, cannot see sprint in Halo and the more modern community. I think that's definitely a thing. But Ains, what you said, dude, I absolutely agree. I like thrust. That was one of the main differentiators in the sandbox for Halo 5 that made it feel like an evolution to me personally of Halo 2. If you told me back in 2004, hey, 11 years from now, this is what Halo is going to be like, and I saw Halo 5, I'm like, yeah, that looks pretty good. That looks pretty fun,
Can we talk about the grapple hook?
Equipment is a huge, a whole nother debate. Yeah.
So hold on before we do that, because I'm trying to make a point here is that the grapple hook we know is an equipment pickup, right?
Right.
I think people might have thought originally everyone had a grapple hook.
I was thinking Titanfall. That's how I was thinking it.
That's not the case, right? And that's why I bring up thrust is what we're saying, or what I think 343 is putting in front of us, right? Is for those of us that have played Master Chief Collection and Halo 5 lately, right? I'm one of those guys that really enjoys Halo 4 multiplayer. I get all the faults. I get it. But I just, I still enjoy it. What we're saying is that Halo Infinite, at its core sandbox of movement and capabilities, without the equipment pickups, is going to be more like Halo 4, not the mechanics, not the battle rifle, all these other things. Movement, right? More like Halo 4 than Halo 5, because you're losing all those abilities they added in Halo 5, except for the clamber, are gone.
Yep. Clamber, slide, clamber, sprint. That's all that's coming forward from 5.
Right.
So you think the boost will be an equipment, like an alternative to have if you don't take the grapple hook?
I wonder. It could be.
Are we even sure that the grapple hook isn't standard?
No, we are sure. It is an equipment pickup. Yeah.
But my point being is that even if it's a pickup, that's not in your toolbox for every player. So the engagement, like in Halo 5, right? You're not manipulating. You're having to contend with the fact that, one, you have to think about the directional movement you're making, right, to make them miss.
Sure.
While you're having to figure out where they're going to go so you can hit that kill shot. That's gone, and that just seems really odd to me. It feels, out of everything they've talked about, that feels like a step backwards.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought that was more disappointing. I'm really disappointed by that.
So if they got rid of it,
pickup, I think that would be a good middle ground, because then you have to choose between the grapple hook or the boost.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah. If they got rid of the thrust, which was standard in Halo 5, and if you're not picking up the grapple hook, then there has to be an alternative, like you guys are saying. I don't know. Maybe they haven't showed it yet.
Yeah.
As long as it's not a loadout and you pick it up on the field, I'm okay with it.
I really dig that change. I love how it is something that you have to. I forget what they said. It's like, yeah, you could pick up the grapple hook and then like hook on to a part of the map where you sneak behind enemy lines. You take this thing. I dig that a lot. I like the idea because I'm a big team battle type of guy. And the one thing that I feel like Halo really never got right is the balance between person and vehicle. And I feel like my hopes and dreams are that the hook shot is a step into saying, you know what, this guy with the gosh dang Banshee is on the last damn. Yeah, it's the equalizer, man. It's now the Banshee isn't just, you know, some dude just hovering in the back with the wasp.
The wasp.
The wasp,
Yeah.
man.
Now you can hook onto it and actually have, you know, some form of equalization, because that's the one thing with Halo is like it's either the vehicles are super OP or the vehicles are just useless. You know.
But I mean, Halo's an arena shooter first and foremost, and just like powerful weapons are purposefully overpowered because you have to get to them and pick them up. Vehicles are the same way, right? Like you have to get to the vehicle, and that's your prize, is that you get to pull it and kind of dominate the battlefield. I don't think that they should shy away from that, but you're right. There should be more options to people on foot so that somebody's not just floating with the wasp and is just unkillable, or the mantises could get really irritating in Halo 5.
I think that's why they showed that, like, I forget the name of it now, like that missile, that harpoon you can shoot.
The skewer.
Spartan laser?
Yes. No, the
skewer in Infinite, where he plugs in and he literally just wipes that warthog out, right? It just goes flying.
I was actually just going to mention that, I'm sorry, Mo. I was going to touch on Joe's point there because I think your Infinite's probably going to be right up your alley. I actually just did a video on that very subject about vehicles feeling OP, because I actually announced for the first time since Halo 3, vehicles will be on 4-on-4 maps, which we haven't had since Halo 3.
Some of them, yes.
So the skewer is a huge step. We don't know if the Spartan laser is in Halo Infinite. I would be shocked if it wasn't, but that would be...
I think we've seen it get shown in one of the gameplay trailers. So somebody
not
shot
yet.
it?
Nope, not yet.
No. A lot of people are mistaking it with the skewer.
Yeah, the skewer is not a dead giveaway like the Spartan laser. So that's advantage to the person on foot versus the vehicle, because you could just shoot at them without a laser showing that, hey, you're locking on. Rockets look like they might be tracking. It's hard to tell in some of the trailers. But the biggest thing that is the difference is the new vehicle destruction system that they're introducing. That's
what I was going to say, man.
Is an Infinite. You could pop off tires on a Warthog by shooting at it. So, and that will affect the driving capabilities. You could literally shoot wings off of Banshees, and they will affect the flying capabilities of the Banshee. So a person on foot is much more versatile, against a vehicle than it's ever been in Halo. So I think it's going to be a great... Yeah, slip space engine.
That's an engine improvement right there. You can't do it without an engine improvement.
Exactly. So there's definitely advantages to being on foot versus vehicles. I think they're going to feel a lot less overpowered while still being, like Travis said, it is a key part of the sandbox. To be able to, it's a power weapon, much like the equipment is basically a power weapon now. You have to fight for these things on the map. They are significant. And that was one of, say what you want about Halo 3. Halo 3 is a great game, multiplayer. I think it's the most overrated multiplayer in the series. I personally hate equipment because in Halo 3, it literally flips the tide of a battle instantly. And you have, Halo's all about, like I said, being a tactical shooter. It's all about visual identifiers. In Halo 3, you could be winning a gunfight, somebody whips out a regen, the tables have turned, the turns have tabled, and it's frustrating. But in Infinite, you can visually see, and this was one of my feedback points, and I'm so glad that they did this. You could visually see a big grapple hook on a Spartan, so you know what they're going at. You could see the drop shield on a Spartan side when they have it on them. You could see the repulsor, which is that big shield that can reflect things back. You could see that on a Spartan.
And
so
the overshield, you see it's got a full animation, and it takes a few seconds before it actually activates.
So like if I have rockets and I'm going up to a dude with a repulsor, I have to think, dude, do I really want to shoot at this guy where he could actually bounce it back towards me? Or, there it adds. And I think that's where equipment was always lacking with, being on an even playing field. Something I admire about Halo, and that's why I love Infinite. Why I love 5 so much is even playing fields is huge. That is a core identity of Halo, in my opinion. Sure. Obviously, being an arena shooter. So
do you think that those sorts of? Sorry, I'll let you do super chat first.
No, it's not a super chat, Travis. I was just trying to get this comment because this is what we're talking about, right? Right? Makes a good point that what we're talking about in terms of the thrust, the grapple hook, we're talking about Reach competitive settings where you had to compete for mobility.
But Reach had loadouts, which is
competitive settings.
Competitive settings did it. Right. Okay. It was DMR starts.
So when they, because we won't even talk about armor lock, but when Reach got to competitive,
Reach is the most overrated multiplayer, by the way.
It is the worst multiplayer in the series, in my opinion.
People forget. I don't want to get off topic, but people forget the chaos that surrounded Bungie when Reach launched. They were getting death threats. People were quitting Halo. People forget what Reach's launch was actually like because people now say Reach is fantastic. Believe me, people did not feel that way at launch.
See, I loved Reach. I always loved Reach. I hated the loadouts for sure because I felt like they were all dumb and armor lock. I hate it.
It's a good game. It's a bad Halo game.
One word that ruins Reach: Bloom. Okay.
Yeah, Bloom. Bloom killed it.
Get it out of here.
Yeah. By the way, I just want to stop the whole show. Bring back the sticky detonator.
Absolutely.
Bring it back, please.
Yeah,
please.
Absolutely.
I'm reeling right now.
I'll just agree because I like the expression of pain on Luke's face. So you know what? Reach is overrated, guys. I agree.
Yeah.
I love Reach. I
liked Reach. Yeah.
I'm saying that people forget history. And you can actually go back to the Bungie forums when Reach, those days, it was a nightmare, man.
Reach and 4 is good. 343 was getting death threats with 4 as well, but that was a continuation of Reach. Bungie started, that trend with Halo, and 4 is like, all right, let's take it. Let's continue what Reach started. But it was not very. Not for some reason now. I guess time always heals all wounds. Time is a crazy thing, but people absolutely love Reach now. And you see polls all the time. What's the best Halo multiplayer? I see Reach winning these polls.
What? No,
nothing is wrong. I like Halo Reach. It's just my least favorite in the whole series, which is still better than most other FPS games.
I mean, I love the campaign. I can't say the same about the multiplayer, but
and it had the worst maps in the series, probably.
Yeah,
loadouts.
Oh man.
An hour ago, Travis and I were like this. I'm like, this is man.
All it took.
And now,
I mean, hey, look, what loadouts? How do you defend that in a Halo game? It's the same reason I don't like 4, man.
It goes against Halo Arena.
It goes against Halo's Arena.
Halo. Yeah.
It's like, hey, we're not an arena shooter anymore. Now and then 4, they added sprinting on top of that. And
they added orbital drops in Halo 4.
Oh my god, dude. Well, I think 4 is the worst multiplayer, best story. The actual campaign, you're just running down hallways, so the gameplay and the campaign I have a problem with. But
button simulator.
Yeah, dude.
Hearing you guys, go ahead.
I was just gonna say 4, Reach. It always have a special place in my heart. It was the last Bungie Halo game. I thought the campaign was super unique, but the multiplayer just broke my heart.
And the customization was great.
Loadouts, I felt like my Halo was dead. I was just like, damn, there's jetpacks. I'm just like, what the hell?
Jetpack is more annoying than armor lock, man. I'll say it.
Really?
Yeah,
I was the jetpack.
Armor lock is actually broken though, and doesn't.
It is broken until the title update. Yeah.
Yeah.
What makes a Halo? Bloom was fine.
No,
what makes Bloom is not fine? It's in Halo 3 too. It's
what makes a Halo game to you guys, and I'm asking the chat as well because you're all tossing these different things out here, and none of them have affected my love for Halo. And
well, you have to, are you talking campaign? Are you talking arena competitive Halo? Or are you talking just general multiplayer? There's different concepts here.
To me, Halo, first and foremost, it's an arena shooter where both sides are on equal footing, and it's about controlling the map and using the power weapons and that sort of stuff. And then you build out from there. Then you build out big team battle, which kind of builds on that fundamentals and that sort of thing. Bloom is fine. This guy. RNG in my gunplay. RNG in my gunplay. That's exactly what I want. So stuff like that. I think that it has to, at its heart, keep that arena shooter because there's not a lot of them left, man. There's not a lot of games that really go for that. Now it's all about leveling up and RPGifying the shooter. And I think that I mean I agree with you, Luke. None of these have kept me from loving Halo. I played the crap out of Reach. I love the campaign. I still every Halo game I love, even the ones that don't do certain things as well. It's just that if we're trying to hold 343's feet to the fire, Like they need to go from that single source of truth, which on the campaign we've learned it's that we love Master Chief and he has to be central. And on multiplayer, in my opinion, it has to stick to its arena roots. Those are like the two, like don't touch these sacred cows of.
And you notice that when Joseph Staten spoke before, they showed it, here at E3 when he spoke for like 45 seconds or whatever, he distinctly said those two things.
Yep.
He said on the campaign side, this is Chief's story. He's at the center. On multiplayer, our core tenets are arena, balance starts, and big team battle. Because to your point, those are all the things that are considered the fundamental core of Halo, and they're really trying to speak to their core.
And I would add, since probably Halo 3, a complete package game on launch is a fundamental core of Halo. Good campaign, good multiplayer, good custom games, good Forge. Forge is, while it's not something I spend any time in, is a huge part for the community.
Yes,
so, do we know if we'll get Forge at launch?
Yes, they have a dedicated. I could have sworn they said that because they have a dedicated Forge team now.
They have,
and they're bringing over. I'm almost positive they said they're bringing over, creations basically. So things, some stuff will carry with you too.
Right, but I haven't seen them say at launch though. That's the thing.
I've not heard of that.
Yeah,
but
okay, fair enough.
I would be absolutely mind blown if they repeated, like I said earlier, the same mistake they made with Halo 5 and not having it at launch. I think they got a lot of backlash from that from a certain part of the community. It's just a matter of what's Forge going to be included with. Is it going to be part of the paid campaign, part of Halo Infinite, or part of the free? If it's a free tool, that is absolutely another huge thing.
Has to be.
Yeah, that would be absolutely huge for Halo to have that a part of the multiplayer and free at launch.
Yeah, it has to be because the opportunity for Forge, I'm sorry, Joe, the opportunity for Forge comes from community engagement, to your point, Pat. And they have to know, I know we say this all the time and companies still make the mistake, right? But engagement here with the community and streaming and YouTube and everything else, that's where your Forge play is going to come in. I mean, that's what's going to build that. There's no way they lock that behind a paywall when the multiplayer is free. There's no way.
Yeah. And I love that question, Luke. I hate giving you compliments. You know this. But what is Halo to you? And like we hear arena a lot, right? Like Travis, that's your core tenet. It has to be. And like for me, it's like it's big team. And for someone out there, it's Forge. And how do you have, 343's mission here is a delicate one, very important one, is how do you make all those people happy? And that is something that, like, hearing everyone talk tonight, it's giving me kind of reassurance that, Halo is on the right footing. I just find that so interesting because for me it's just like I respect the arena play. I'll play the heck out of it as well. But like for me, it's like finding that Scorpion, finally getting to be, or jumping into a Banshee, that type of stuff. You know.
What do you guys in that front, Joe? What do you guys all think about moving from big team from 8-on-8 to 12-on-12? Obviously, that creates new map sizes, right? Larger map sizes, weaponry, vehicle drops, these randomized orbital drops that are going to be in big team now, which can land in different areas in the map rather than static weapon spawn locations, right? To me, that kind of forces, in big team anyway, that forces mobility, right? It forces players to get out and move across the map in different areas. The capture the flag, they've confirmed, I believe, at least Hidden Xperia did, that the flagnum is gone now. So things like capture the flag, you don't have the magnum anymore. It's more of that team play focus where you have to support each other. There was one other aspect I was going to say
flag
too.
Dropped, flag captured.
Right. But also with big team being a dedicated part, and Pat, you kind of mentioned this earlier, but Halo 5's launch not only did it not have big team, but 343 did not design core maps for big team in Halo 5. What they later did was build them out of Forge, right? Which is just, they're cool, and some of them are very well done, but it's not the same as literally first party designed maps. Exactly. Whereas they will have that here at launch and continue to support it in the future. So does the 12-on, so you can touch on all that, but does the 12-on-12 also signify that Warzone, the mode that was obviously very popular in Halo 5, is gone for good? Do you think Warzone comes back, or do you think they go arena, big team, stick to the core, and then eventually do something like a battle royale?
Yeah, I think they stick to the core. I think that Big Team is probably their focus instead of Warzone now. And I don't know if they need a battle royale because Big Team Battle, in my opinion, is a better experience. I mean, they could add it, sure, but I'm sort of saying like since Warzone is out there and Apex and kind of the winners have been decided and they're just continuing to do what they do. You know, Fortnite is not going anywhere. I kind of don't see games launching with battle royales anymore, or really even adding them. It's sort of a fad that you know now that the winners are decided, it's kind of going away. That's the way I see it, right?
Limited time mode.
So that's the way I see it. But I think Big Team Battle is going to be great because you can see all the toys they've added to the sandbox and all the pickups, and you know we've been talking about equipment. My question is more on the arena side. How does that affect it? Like, am I going to be able to use a grapple hook in arena because that doesn't seem like right for some reason. It kind of seems like maybe the equipment shouldn't be in the arena mode, or and you know the trailer we saw, it was like all Big Team Battle very clearly, but then at the end you see a little bit of arena, and in that, you know, he throws the grenade to get the sword, and so if he had a grapple hook, he probably would have just used that, right? So I'm wondering if there's kind of a separation here, or what the sandbox looks like. There's a lot of unanswered questions.
Maybe I'm mistaken, Travis, but the first part of the multiplayer trailer, before they go to what looks to be a Valhalla inspired big team
you're right.
map,
There is something that looks like it's maybe an arena.
That looks that's
all
arena.
arena. That's all arena.
And he only uses the grapple hook.
He does, because he does the no-scope out of it.
The only Big Team map that we see is the Valhalla. Look at Fragmentation is the name of that map. That is the only Big Team map. Everything else was arena. So that all the equipment, the drop shield, the repulsor, all that was 4-on-4 arena gameplay through that trailer. So
you're right. Yeah, I forget. I'm totally. I guess because Big Team Battle was such a explosion,
it was a primary focus.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Yeah. It got me really excited. I agree. I think Big Team is going to be much more fully featured and going to be just a ridiculous amount of fun with friends in this big sandbox. But I do want to talk about Battle Royale a little more.
Let's go. Let's do it.
I know Pat and I.
Let me stretch.
So, Battlefield has confirmed that a free to play addition to Battlefield Battle Royale is coming early next year.
Yep.
It's not launching with it, but it's coming. We know the success of the things you already said, Travis, right? And Warzone is making $1 billion+ a year and has passed 100 million players. When I look at the conversation like Pat and I have had, right? When you think about, one, the success of Battle Royale, two, how much, let's be honest, how much money those games are making, right? Yeah. And three, what game out of the gate of these games has a better sandbox for Battle Royale than Halo?
None.
It's got, you have Spartans, you have ODSTs, you have all kinds of different vehicles, you have weaponry that's unmatched. Think of Warzone, right?
Yeah.
Not Warzone Call of Duty, Warzone from Halo 5, where you had all these variations of the weaponry and you played in the Halo lore. I mean, the opportunities for what you could do with a Battle Royale and Halo Infinite just seem infinite, for no pun intended. I mean, it just seems like a perfect fit, no?
And that's why I do think that at some point they will dip their toes in that, because a lot of people who play the Battle Royale modes nowadays, especially Warzone, I have a ton of friends who have grown up not grown up, but like at least for the last decade before Warzone, who played Call of Duty religiously, right? Core multiplayer every year. Right. And now since Warzone launched, they haven't touched core multiplayer. There's a lot of people who just prefer to play Battle Royale now over core multiplayer, which is why even Battlefield decided to dip their toes into it as well. And I think to attract those players, if you want to attract the Apex players and you want to attract, I mean, you're going to get your players, right? But you obviously want more, hence why you're going free to play. I think to attract those players as well, you want to attract a different audience as well. You want to attract different people. The people that are not interested in core multiplayer will come and try Halo. They'll try the big team battle, but maybe it'll stick with them, maybe it won't. But at least, you know, to do something like Battle Royale, for instance, you know, to entice that Warzone crowd, Fortnite crowd, Apex crowd, I think it can work for them. And like you said, they have the tools to do it. They have the maps to do it. It's all there. How they're going to do it, I wish I could say, but I've always been on this hill. Like, I think they will do it.
When you have the engine and you have Zeta Halo as the background, right?
That's what I do think so. And honestly, man, it's just a financial win, you know, on top of everything else. Like, I mean, they're going to make
it like you want to say so many things. He's dying over there.
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, wait.
All right.
Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead, Travis. I'll go after you, or whoever wants to go after. I got a lot to say about Battle Royale, so go ahead.
Okay. I just think that Halo doesn't need to be a battle royale because its experience is better, right? And I think that if they were to slap a battle royale mode with a Halo skin on it, it would feel shallow and is not what the sandbox is designed to do. But you guys make good points that there are so many things in the Halo sandbox that would be beneficial for a battle royale. So I think that if they do add something that is like a battle royale mode, it will be different enough to where it will sort of, I think a lot of people will question if it counts as a battle royale, and they will definitely not call it that. They'll call it like Warzone 2.0 or something like that. So my idea for a battle royale map or battle royale mode is that it is Warzone 2.0. It's a battle royale where last man standing wins, but it's got PvE components where there are AI controlled enemies on the map as well that will try to kill you if you get near them, and you can kill them to get better loot, right? Yeah. I see something like that happening, but to me, that's no longer a battle royale. Now it's like a open world kind of PvE mode, right? That is something that we've never seen before, and I could see that being a blast. But just doing a doing a battle royale mode with the Halo sandbox, I do not see that being successful, and I see it being inferior to big team battle. Yeah, so they don't need it, right? So
but see, properly implemented the way that you said, I think it would work. And now, you elaborated more on what I said, right?
But then, is it battle royale? Is it battle royale?
They could call it whatever they want. Standing at the end that wins, then it's a battle royale. It depends on how it's implemented. You know, if it's a bunch of people on the map and it's separate teams or just 1v1 times whatever, it's a battle royale no matter what other gameplay mechanics are in there.
Halo, so I'm not like if they announced it, right, because I hated the one post they made. It's like BR to us stands for battle rifle.
Love that.
Like the Adam and Eve versus Adam and Steve, like equivalent to video games. I hated it. I was just like, come on guys, it's corny. For me, battle royale in Halo, if they announce it, fine, but it just doesn't make sense, and that's why I'm always curious of how these designers just craft and create these experiences, because in my head I'm like, how does it make sense? Like Fortnite, you have your gray gun, and then you have this gold gun, and it sucks because, not to say it sucks, but it sucks when you know you lost to that guy with the gold scar because you had a blue, M16.
Happens in Warzone too, and Apex.
Yeah, but like, how do you implement that in a Halo thing? Like, do you have a gray BR and then
they did it in Warzone?
Right. There's variants of guns in Warzone.
Halo 5 Warzone. God, I hate that they're doing the same thing.
Yeah.
They did it in Halo 5 Warzone.
You think that sort of loot system would work though, or would
instead
of going for a gray BR and a blue BR, it would just be power weapons?
You can't think of a Halo BR as, and this is the thing. People got to look at it this way. I guess this is where I'll get my rant going. I absolutely think Halo BR would work, and I think it would work tremendously well because of what Ains was saying about the sandbox. At its core, the sandbox of Halo is built to be taken advantage of in the BR setting.
Sure.
However, I won't say that Halo needs a BR. I'm not going to go as far as to say that I want one. I don't think it needs it. No. But at the same time, you can't think of it as a traditional Halo game mode. Okay. Things like Infection, Griffball, stuff like that. I would never wish those to not be in the game because there's a group of the community that likes those. I personally don't. I'm a sweaty, competitive arena player. I just want to play 4-on-4. I don't even play big team much. I am just 4-on-4. Get me my rank. Let's go grind out arena kind of guy. But I would never wish those game modes to not be in the game because there's a section of the community that likes to play that. And I think you got to think of BR as the same thing. It's a game mode. It's not its own standalone thing. It's not, if it comes after launch, it's not going to detract from the launch of Halo Infinite and having the content there, because I know that's a lot of people's concerns, but I've talked about that in the video as well. Respawn, with much less employees, put out Apex Legends and Jedi Fallen Order in the same year. So it can be done. But you just can't think of it as that kind of like the certain, like even starts things. That's not what Battle Royale is. it's kind of like what Travis said, and I know you said you don't want it. You think it would fall flat. It's a BR with a Halo skin on it, but I think it could still be made different from other BRs to be successful. Like Apex Legends, I played that a lot.
Yeah,
that is the game that made me want a Halo BR. There was a lot of similarities in the gunfights to Apex, even though it's a completely different game, where I was like, dude, a Halo BR could really work if they did it right. Obviously, you have to do it right. Firestorm fell flat. Battlefield 5's Battle Royale fell flat. We've seen Battle Royales fall flat, but most of them
also a paid. You had to have Battlefield 5.
Apex has the characters and the powers and that whole hero shooter dynamic.
Different classes, yeah.
I worry that Halo will end up feeling like PUBG when it comes out, because it's just all the same people. Halo Sandbox only has a couple weapons, and it's so tame and controlled. It's like the exact opposite of what a BR is, which is just like
I liked PUBG,
laissez-faire Borderlands.
I love PUBG.
Yeah,
loot pool.
I'm with you.
No, but
with you
see,
on
Halo
this one,
5.
Travis.
Sorry. No, I'm sorry,
no,
Joe. I was just going to counter on the weapon front, because Halo 5 Warzone has tens and tens and tens and tens of different weapons and variations in how they fire, what they do.
Yeah.
You have lore weapons like Nornfang, right? Linda's sniper rifle. That
different.
Imagine if you're playing a battle royale and you land and you go into a cave and open like any other battle royale, right? You open something and Nornfang pops out. Imagine how exciting that would be to know.
Or PvE elements, like Travis said, like integrate Warzone from Halo 5 in there, and you defeat like a boss on the map, and hey, it drops a bunch of loot that's like high tier stuff.
Yeah. See, to me, it's like you guys are describing a jungle in a MOBA, and that just sounds like the worst to me. Like for me, it's like
Warzone did have MOBA influences, so
to me, in order for this to work, it is like what Travis says. Like this is the opposite of what Halo is. It would need to be its own experience. Like it would need to have its own battle pass. Like the things that we're talking about here.
Why?
To me, I think
why? But why?
Why?
Warzone shares a battle pass with like Call of Duty's battle pass works with.
I don't know Call of Duty's battle.
Well, that's the point.
It works.
It's 300 gigs. Nobody actually plays it. They just say they do.
Nobody plays it, but it's still extremely popular.
Exactly.
All right, Joe.
Yeah. No, Joe. The point being is you're assuming. You're saying it would have to have different battle pass and different progression. No, it doesn't.
Right.
It doesn't.
It just, I don't know, man. It like playing Warzone. The times I had when it was a cancer on my hard drive. It is a like the gunplay is there, but it is a much different experience.
100%.
Time to kill, and that isn't like Warzone is not Call of Duty. It just happens to me share the same.
Well, neither is Titanfall versus Apex. They're the same universe,
but that's the thing. It's
completely different, right?
Well, if we want a Halo BR,
they're separate games,
it's just a different. Yeah, exactly. It's a separate game.
Okay, well then do it as a separate game. I don't care. I just want it.
But we want people in the big team, so I get to shoot at them and stuff.
Oh, you'll have plenty.
I don't think you're
I
gonna
want
have a
Luke
player
Lores
problem.
running around so I can shoot them. Yeah. That's it.
I get it. But like I said, Infection and Griffball and stuff, that's not Halo at its core. Those are just wacky game modes that people enjoy. It's different. There's different strokes for different folks. The way I see it, if I don't get a BR, then people like me who want it lose out. But if we do get one, well, the people like me gain to have it. You just don't have to play it. Just play a different mode.
Let me throw something at you guys. Do you think there's a subconscious concern that it'll probably end up getting so many people if it's implemented correctly? Let's just say it happens and it's implemented correctly. Do you think there's a subconscious yes? Do you think there's a subconscious concern by the Halo purists that so many people will end up playing this that this is what will be the main attraction?
No.
Yeah, certainly isn't for me.
So.
I would say like
it's not for me either. I'm just saying.
Yeah, my main concern is that like they would have to build too much for it. Like having a gray colored battle rifle and a blue colored battle rifle and them having different stats. It's very counter to what the Halo sandbox is designed to do or what players are used to. So it would have to be like what Ains was saying, where it uses like the sandbox that Warzone has, where you get a named weapon and that sort of thing. I could see that working. My point is there would have to be so many things different from a BR, in my opinion, including like incorporating PvE elements and all that stuff. I think it would be closer to Warzone. And I mean Halo Warzone, not Call of Duty Warzone. This is
I know this is annoying, isn't it?
It would be more similar to a Halo Warzone 2.0 than I think a battle royale. And at that point, like, are we just like splitting on what this is. I think that it could work, but I just don't know.
Yeah, let's throw this out there. Flood, what's up, man? Thanks for coming by. This is an interesting thing. So I'm a BR fan, but I've always wanted Halo to bring me Battlefield-like conquest mode of Spartans versus Covenant, a grand-scale war between factions. That's a cool idea.
Invasion. That was Invasion in Reach, really.
That'd be a cool.
Yeah, I know some people liked Invasion. I never thought it played extremely well.
It wasn't big.
That was more like
Reach,
Rush.
Ains,
That
that's
wasn't like
why.
Conquest.
It was ahead of the times, I think, but it just didn't have the tech to do what they were trying to do.
Yeah,
and Bloom. Ugh.
And Bloom and Halo 3.
Goddamn Bloom, man.
But for the past 10 minutes, you guys have been making this perfect storm of terrible things that might happen. I think there's an over concern there. And, I put it in the chat, but I really feel like a Battle Royale would be great as a limited time mode, an event they do once a month or every few weeks with the community as a reason to gather. But it doesn't need to be a mainstay. I mean, and that's fine. But purists tend to keep games from evolving.
What do you do if you put it out at a month, you attract 5 million players, and then you say, yeah, we're turning this off?
You turn it off.
Yeah, no way.
And I'm not being flippant. Think about the hold that Fortnite had on the world for the 2 days it was shut down. Think about the rallying cry that Halo would have as an event if it was a popular mode and they brought it back once a month or once a quarter, or for at various points. Think about the people that it would pull in as a tentpole moment in the game, and then it allows Halo to exist second to that. I mean, it's a free multiplayer, so the modes will dictate the engagement. There's a lot to that idea, and I just want to keep that in your minds. As we don't need to dismiss it, we also don't need to pretend like it has to be there all the time. It doesn't.
No,
sure.
I don't think anyone's saying that it has to be there.
No.
I heard Joseph Moran say it had to be there or he was going to lose it.
Well,
Yeah, I heard that
I
too.
think what you brought up is interesting, but at the same time, kind of the counterpoints that everybody was bringing up earlier about population. I think a limited time mode might attract more players to that, and then you're not going to get as much population in your other modes instead of something that's always there where people have the choice to go back and forth in between them. You know what I'm saying?
Think about like when Overwatch did like the holiday events, right? It gets people playing like the Halloween event for the skins. And then maybe you're like, you know what, this is fun. Let's do some, let's just do some regular multiplayer.
Yeah, but BR is just, I don't know, it's just such a different beast than like a limited time Pumpkinhead event or anything that
Also, the reason why I want
more
a BR is I want to see the ODSTs drop. That's like
Dude,
that's what
that would be such the obvious route to go. But I will say, like, the thing to me isn't population or player base that I worry about with the BR mode. It is what the developers are focusing on. 343 building a battle royale takes a ton of resources. It is how entire companies spend all of their time doing, and to do it right, you would have to take so many resources away from doing the stuff that I care about, like making new arena and big team battle maps and building more of the campaign. They might just people forget Fortnite had a story mode and was a co-op game. I reviewed Fortnite before it was a battle royale. And people forget that game was totally different. And as soon as the BR mode came out, everything else was just gone, a million years away. People don't even remember that stuff anymore. And I think Halo's best when it's focused on the stuff that it knows it does well. And I think that a battle royale mode would detract from that.
I made that point earlier though about Respawn. Respawn was able to do it with many less employees than like a quarter of the employees that 343 has. Put out 2 AAA games in 1 year.
But they ain't making a Titanfall 3.
Exactly.
Because of the success.
How many of the resources do you think are on Apex versus other projects now, though?
You don't think Jedi Fallen Order had a decent size, part of the...
Probably not a ton of overlap between the developers there.
Okay, but yeah, it's still same studio, though. That's what I'm saying. And who says 343 has to develop it? Microsoft, Certain Affinity has partnered with 343 for MCC in the past. You have a bunch of actually partners that 343 partners with MCC, but... Certain Affinity being one of the main ones too.
Great
and they do really great multiplayer maps. Actually, Max Hoberman, the lead designer of Halo 2, is the leader of Certain Affinity. So
just tell him to make all the maps.
Tell him make all the maps for Halo Infinite. Well, there you go. So there's options. I absolutely get that argument though, Travis. I'm not trying to shoot it down. I like to play devil's advocate a lot and try to offer both.
Yeah, he's a pain in the ass.
And honestly,
sometimes.
that's mostly what I'm doing now. Like if Halo announced that they were doing a battle royale mode tomorrow, I would forget I ever had this conversation, and I'd be super stoked. And
I'd be like, Travis, hey, you want to party up? And
yeah, and I'd be like, yeah, absolutely. What is Halo Arena? I don't even remember anymore. But like, you know, I'm sort of being, I've seen what happens when Halo gets away from the thing that makes it magical and unique, and I just am super wary of that. But
no, I get that.
Of course I would love a battle royale mode.
I get that.
I'm in the same boat. And it's certainly, if they don't do it, it's not going to stop me putting hundreds and hundreds, and if not thousands of hours in the Halo Infinite, right? I mean, this, no matter what, there's going to be enough content there, I think, to make all of us Halo fans happy, as we already talked about. I think, again, thinking about what is possible with the vehicles and Zeta Halo, and is it Zeta or Zeta?
I think it's either or.
Zeta.
I don't know.
Zeta.
I didn't know
Zeta,
if there was a
but-
proper way to say it.
Zeta to Zata.
The ring, the weapons, the vehicles, the ODSTs. I think there's just a lot of capability there. But if they do it, fantastic. I'll play it. If they don't, no big deal. I'm going to play the hell out of Arena and Big Team. So, and I think, we already touched on it, right? I think the seasons, continued maps, all that being free, the battle pass, the customization, the fractures. I think there's going to be so much content to consume as there is, even without it. So.
Legitimately, everything we've seen looks great. I'm excited for this game.
Yeah,
no doubt. So, on the multiplayer front, guys, we've touched on kind of abilities, equipment, maps, battle royale, counting them down, Joe. Is there anything you were thinking about coming into this conversation for multiplayer that we haven't touched on?
Yes.
Go for it.
As once again a mainly competitive player in Halo. Like Travis said, everything I've seen so far, the game at its core looks fun. That's all I really care about. I want Halo. I want to have a fun time playing my favorite series. There are a couple of decisions that I need to play the game in order to really I'm a firm believer playing it before I really make a judgment on it, or needing more info at least. A couple of things that stick out are huge gameplay changers from a competitive standpoint. One being picking up power-ups and being able to store them. Is a huge gameplay change.
Yes.
I'm just like, dude, I wonder how that's going to work. Being able to sprint with the flag is another thing, which is kind of different to me. And maybe even...
but no weapon now.
Well,
I'm about to get to that.
If the flag is still a one-hit kill with the melee. And
yes,
sprinting
correct.
With it,
It has like a freaking impaling-looking thing on the end of it.
Yeah.
But some really eagle-eyed people that, I watched this trailer at 0.25 speed a bunch of times, crap load of times. All right. But some people have slowed it down even more and saw that there was a Spartan with the flag on their back at a point. And you could actually see it. And when they went into the first person perspective on Bazaar, the name of the map is the Halo 2 turf looking map. They had like a red glow, like a red aura on them, like from the first person perspective, which was the same aura the flag was giving off earlier when the player grabbed it. And they had their weapon out, and you could see like it looks like they switch, and the flag is on their back. So maybe you have a decreased movement speed while you have the flag in your hand or out on your back, and you're walking around. There's just a bunch of opportunity. For one, I don't like sprinting with the flag. That's what flighting is for. Feedback. Sure. They're gonna test this out. They're gonna see how the community reacts, and the power up thing is a huge game changer in Arena 4-on-4 gameplay. And I'm not a big fan of AR starts in Halo. I always like spawning with a BR. It looks like it's AR starts in Arena. That could change. That could just be a certain game mode, a certain part of Arena. Your more competitive settings could have BR starts or DMR if that gets introduced. We haven't seen the DMR yet, but hopefully it's there. That's definitely another concern. But this is all minor nitpicks. I need to play the game and see how that how that all turns out. But for the most part, man, I'm excited. Go ahead,
Pat. As a competitive player, because I know the BR starts is always a hot topic in the Halo competitive community. Yeah. I'm one of those weirdos that liked that Halo 5 went back to AR starts. Hold on. Because the Magnum was useful, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So if it's AR and Magnum and the Magnum is properly tuned, I prefer that to BR starts only because if everyone starts with a BR every time, I've always
Nobody
felt that
picks
that
up
gives
any
you
other
too much
weapons.
power at range without any need for really picking up another weapon.
Exactly,
agree.
and nobody does. If they get the BR,
Yeah,
it's
BR
just
starts.
a
That's all you do.
only
It's a
mode.
BR game at that
The
point.
Halo 5 is the exception though, because the pistol is such a formidable precision weapon in Halo 5 compared to, I mean, the sidekick looks to be more in tune with Halo 2's Magnum, you know, fast shooting, finishing people off, maybe a little bit more powerful than Halo 2, because Halo 2's was basically
pretty
useless.
weak. Yeah.
Is that what they call it, the pistol in
It's
Halo,
called the
is it?
sidekick, yes.
The sidekick.
Yeah.
So,
You know,
I don't
it's
like
always
I don't like the look. I'm gonna be real. That's my only like the Magnum is it, right? Because like the Magnum to me is like sci-fi enough, whereas like the
Have you seen the redesign of the sidekick?
Yes, and to me it still looks like a USB. Like I don't like that design. Like it's still it looks like it could be a real gun. And so like I'm just like I like the fan. Like I love the dumb. I forget what they call it, but like the dumb front here, I love it. Like that just it looks sci-fi to me. Where that looks like I've seen that. You know, like that's why like I love like the BR or like even like the AR. It's just so futuristic looking. Like where the mag placement is on the stock doesn't make sense, but you're just in on it. Like bullpup design or not, doesn't make sense, and it's there, but you're like I'm in on it. This is awesome.
Well,
Can we talk about how bizarre it is that in the Halo universe, auto rifles or assault rifles are short range weapons and pistols are long range ones?
Yeah.
Like the exact opposite of real life.
Right. Well, what Ains was saying too with Halo 5, which is another gameplay mechanic that they introduced. I'm pretty sure it was first introduced at 5, maybe 4, but I'm pretty sure 5.
What's that?
The automatic weapons had a headshot multiplier, so headshots did more damage with automatic weapons.
Yeah.
Which was never the case in the series before. So I wonder if that's coming back. Obviously, make the AR a more formidable starting weapon. But yeah, I mean, I'm open to it. Like I said, I'm more of a BR guy. BR is like my favorite weapon in Halo history. Halo 5's BR got nerfed into the ground, like, you know, through the life cycle of the game, and the Magnum was just prevalent. You know, you don't even touch the BR nowadays, really, in Halo 5 because the Magnum is just so good. But yeah, I gotta play it more, man. I gotta see how it plays. Give me that flight already. Come on.
And the good thing I was going to say when you mentioned the flight before, right, is that 343 has shown, at least to me, they've earned my confidence that they are really listening to the community.
Absolutely.
And that there's a very good communication pool there. They still work with Halo Pro players. They have those ex-pro players on staff at 343. They've just done a very good building job of having the team in place to not only build solid multiplayer, right, all the way up to esports level, but be able to react and adjust the environment in the sandbox as the community kind of agrees that it needs to.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they touched on that in the like the Ask 343 events that they've done, where Quinn was, you know, asked how does the sandbox team plan to go around community feedback. I mean, dude, MCC is like the greatest comeback story ever.
Yeah, it is.
It really is.
You know, like I have zero doubts of 343. Going to Outpost Discovery a couple of years ago, I went to the very first one.
Nice.
And
so jealous. So
dude,
jealous.
Yeah, me too.
Great time, but a lot of issues. That week I had John Friend and Jeff Easterling, who was one of the community people at 343, on my podcast, and I talked to them and gave them feedback. So then I made another 7-hour drive because I'm a crazy Halo nut to the a next Outpost Discovery a couple weeks later in Philadelphia. Completely different experience. Feedback was taken. They improved on the lines tremendously. Like the first event, you're waiting in line all freaking day, man. It was you know, not very fun to just stand there and wait around. They streamlined the whole experience, took in a bunch of feedback, like even things like that. If they're taking feedback for events like Outpost Discovery and what they've done with MCC as far as feedback, dude, I have zero doubt in 343 and actually listening to this community, being transparent as they have been with almost everything they've come out with so far. So consider me pretty excited for that aspect of Infinite.
All right, guys. I think we're at the point where we're beginning to wrap up here. I'll just ask you one more time, because I know we've been talking for 2.5 hours, which is kind of crazy when you're talking Halo. It flies by. Anything else you want to mention to anyone listening to this Obviously all the 343 employees are downloading this episode as we speak, right? So anything you want to shout out before we kind of do our closings? Go for it, Luke.
Yeah, real talk. If for any of them that are actually listening, thank you for sticking with it and working hard. I know you put up with a lot of flack, but there are so many of us out there that have this love for Halo. And one of the cool things about the panel is that it felt like we all kind of ticked into different aspects of Halo, and the love was still there. So, Absolutely. I'm so excited for Infinite. Thank you guys for working on it. And that's what I would want to say. And for anybody that's on the fence, they've just set it up in such a way to bring you over. It's so accessible. I love it.
Yeah. I think this is going to be we heard a lot of flack last year after the reveal, right? And we're not going to recover that again. But I think this game is going to be, I really do believe, not just because I'm a fan, maybe I'm showing bias, I really do believe this is going to be a tremendous success for them. There's going to be more players playing Halo than ever before. And I know there's this weird cult within the Halo community that thinks that the MLG Halo 3 days will never be topped again. I don't believe that to be true. I guarantee Infinite is going to break those player records by a significant amount. And
mentalities like that is why shit doesn't evolve. Luke was saying it earlier.
Yeah, 100%. I think we all agree here. So I just wanted to kind of echo Luke that I'm sure, and I'm not in the position, but I'm sure as a developer, and we talk about this all the time, right? It can often feel, especially in the echo chambers, like it's a thankless job. But you have to know that there's millions of us out there that are overwhelmingly excited for this game and will put a significant portion of our life into it. And that it does not, the amount of work and time and effort does not go unappreciated. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
I just want to say, and I speak for this whole roundtable when I
say, you don't.
We apologize for Luke.
He had to get that in there, didn't you?
Yeah. He's haunting to look at. He has a face for radio, a voice for television. That's all of it.
I mean, he's a ghost. I mean, he's supposed to be haunting to look at.
That's right.
That's right.
I'm changing teams. I'm on Team Luke now.
Thank you. All right.
Oh boy. All right, guys, man. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was gonna say just thank you for having me on. It was awesome to get to meet this whole panel.
Likewise,
everybody in the chat, give these people a follow on their social media. I'm sure Ains will have links.
Everything will be in the comments.
Yes, Pat, 1v1 me, man. Let's
bro,
hook up
bring
on
it.
Xbox
Hey,
Live.
Honestly, I've been on Splitgate a lot lately. If you love arena games, come join me on some Splitgate, man. You'll have some fun.
Cool.
Nice. All right, guys, let's go around. Just close out real quick. So, obviously, I'm not going to say my piece. You're already here. You can find me. Pat, go ahead, man. Where can people find you? What have you been up to?
I take pride in my YouTube content. I try to stay pretty on top of all the Halo news. So anything regarding Halo Infinite, MCC, you guys can subscribe to my YouTube channel.
Please do. It's very good.
Appreciate it, bro. YouTube.com/ThePatmanGaming. Just The Patman Gaming for anything. Instagram, Twitter, and of course, Twitch. I try to stream a few times a week as well. So appreciate it again for having me on. It was awesome getting to meet all you guys.
Of course, man. And you can see me down there playing with him sometimes, teaching him what to do. You know what I mean? So,
Oh, is that what you do?
Mo, shout it out, man.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter, Dr_Mo. For the Backlog Chronicles for the podcast, it's the Backlog_pod. So yeah, live show every Sunday. Catch us there. Always a good time.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
Luke, you better watch. Better duck, man. Joe's pulling out the AR on you.
You can find me on Twitter @InsipidGhost, and you can find my weekly podcast, the Xbox Expansion Pass, on all your podcast services. Most recently, Danny Pena of Gamertag Radio joined me as a guest host, and I also interviewed the developers for the upcoming game, The Riftbreaker, and that was really fun.
Nice, man.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah, you've had a lot of great guests lately, which is awesome to see, man.
Thanks, buddy.
Mr. Bad Take.
Yeah,
where can
what
we
up,
find
man?
the trophy room, brother?
Listen, when I'm not here talking about Halo and being dumb about it, you can find me over at Mr. Badbit on Twitter.
Or me and my best friend Kyle. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, that's the Twitter portion. You're ruining it. This is my thing. You can find the Trophy Room on Twitter at PS Trophy Room. You can find the Trophy Room, a PlayStation podcast where me and my best friend Kyle talk about the latest and greatest in all things PlayStation each and every Thursday. You can find the video version on YouTube. You can find the audio version, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, wherever you find your RSS feeds of choice. You can find the show there. Rate us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts, too. It really helps us out.
God, Joe.
I think that's the most he's talked during this podcast.
Oh, man.
Travis, man, shout it out. Close us out.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at TyGuyTravis, and you can read my reviews and previews on IGN.com. Just got done reviewing the new Dungeons and Dragons game. Don't play it. And I will be on the Last Word podcast this Friday afternoon with Lord Cognito and Ebontis. That's me.
Nice.
Fantastic, man. Guys, chat, anyone listening to this, afterwards, obviously, just appreciate the support. This is a fantastic discussion. I can honestly talk Halo all the time. I think what we'll do, guys, is we'll get some of these flights in here, hopefully sooner rather than later. Maybe we'll bring this group back together, a couple months from now after we've had some playtime with it, and we can really kind of break down what we've experienced. But we'll keep these going, man, because Halo content's always fun to talk about. It is going to be a fantastic time to be a Halo fan and Halo community and Halo content creator, Pat, especially for people like yourself. So look forward to more. You got something else to say?
Yeah, I have one last thing to say just to close it out. Boo, Joe.
I was gonna say something really nice about Pat. I'm like, every time I
love you, Joe.
In a Twitch chat, Pat's channel is fantastic. I was gonna say that. I was gonna say that this was one of my favorite conversations I've had in a very long time. We
I
get
love
to
you,
share
Joe.
our love of Halo and you guys your knowledge of it. And I was gonna say all that, but I take it all back.
You know what? Fine, take it back. It's all right.
Joe, I think you suck.
There. Someone giving it to me.
Us Hispanic bros got to stick together. All right, we got to.
We're dipping in the cast co-op kind of silliness at this point. So we're going to get out of here, man. Thank you all very much. Really appreciate it. Everyone, take care. And we will definitely be back for more Halo conversation in the future. Peace.